Going live. 3, 2, 1. It is 5 to 2, but it doesn't matter because we're here and it is the Sunday service. We're back for a special edition. I checked my emails the other day and had, lads, I can't even begin to describe the amount of questions, just question after question after question of when is it back? When is it on? We're locked down. We need you back to come back and do the Sunday service again. I kind of avoided doing it because, of course, Formula 1 is on and there's other sports and things that are on at this time of the year that, well, you don't need to be sitting in a room for 2 hours watching me do what I do. But look, you all want it back, so I'm here. Thank you very much for joining me. It's very good of you to drop in. I just need to change one little thing, configure video. I just want to make sure that the autofocus is turned off because it has a habit of just suddenly drift focusing on me and just drifting from the background to foreground. So anyway, right, we're back. And I'm set up and I cannot believe that this is all stayed the way it was, because this has become the games room for the girls to play Roblox and all kinds of things. It's been wild. And there's comments already. Loads is waiting already. Derek Norris is here. Well done, Derek. Thank you very much for joining, Derek. Mark is here as well. Finally, some Sunday normality returns. It does return. Temporarily, anyway. I'm going to take a week off. We have a holiday booked here in Ireland, a staycation. I hate that word. Oh, I said it though. But anyway, we have a little book going here in this country for a camper van. But of course, the county I live in is locked down for another week now. So we have another week to go. And then we have to see what happens after that. But of course, the cases are rising. A lot of this is nonsense. A lot of this is down to greed, to the government greed, and to the greed of the meat factory, the mushroom factories, cramming people into all the one spot, making sure that everybody's all on top of one another. So if one of them gets coronavirus, they're stuck together for 8 or 9 hours a day in work, and then they go and live in terrible conditions, an awful lot of them, as they get imported here and get put into facilities that just aren't suitable, like hotels and stuff, and they're all living in each other's pockets, so they all get coronavirus. And that's the biggest problem. That's really where these numbers are coming from. I know I have evidence of what's called the Montague Hotel being tested the other night, which means about 48 hours later we suddenly had 200 cases. So that's I seen what was going on with my own eyes. Anyway, Sunday normality does return for the moment. Paul O'Connor is here. Thank you, Paul. Paul is in the memberships group. Thank you very much for being in the memberships group, Paul. It really does mean a lot. Patreon is also down there as well. If you want to do it that way, it's really good. Any way you can possibly support the channel is really nice. It allows the channel to grow. Of course, we can celebrate the 50 grand now, 50,000 subscribers, and well over nearly 51,000 subscribers already. It's been brilliant. It's been an interesting ride to get this far. I've learned an awful lot about me and about YouTube and how YouTube works and how I work with YouTube and how you guys react to stuff that I do and all that kind of thing. So it's a weird place to be. Crossing the 50k meant a pile of, I suppose, new inquiries for work and for things, for sponsorship and stuff. So there's some really interesting guys that have given me a call over the last while, sponsorship stuff. I'm negotiating with them to get you guys big discounts on the products that they're offering. So I'm not taking sponsorship. It's never going to be a car company, I'll tell you now straight off, right? But there's people who are offering sponsorship to me now. It's brilliant in exchange for an ad, but also I want to exchange a proper discount for you guys. So anything I get sponsorship wise, I'm going to try and return to you guys, particularly if you're a patron or you're on the membership system. I'll try and get you individual discounts for that, but I'll get everybody a discount. It's just the way I am. I try to get everybody a discount as fast as I can, so that's the most important part. Frank Metcalf is here as well. We need your blessing now, Bob, during this current situation. Bless you, Frank. It's okay. We're all right. I think we're all going to make it through this. I don't think coronavirus is just a little blip. It's part of 2020. 2020 sounds like a terrible year, but actually, there are some good sides to this. We've learned a lot about ourselves. We've learned a lot about each other as well. How much we can put up with each other. How much we need each other, which is the other part. That's the thing that we learned for sure. How much you rely on your little insular family, my little 2 kids and a wife, how much we've bonded together and got to know each other even more, because we're living in each other's pockets now for 5 months at this stage. Really, it was March when we locked down first, and April when it really kicked in and we properly locked down and we were stuck. We'd only go 2 kilometres from home and that sort of stuff, we'll see what happens with the rest of the year, the second half of the year. We're into kind of the last season of the year now, I suppose. We're into the autumn. I know, technically it can be still summer or autumn, but basically I can see the air currents have changed. It's starting to cool a little bit. We've got a lot of high humidity, but it's all starting to head off. Paul O'Connor says next week off will be Christmas. At this rate, if the lockdown continues, we will just continue broadcasting until someone says stop. That's probably the best way of doing it. I noticed the Department of Justice was monitoring people's tweets this morning. I noticed that on Twitter. It's not a new thing. They've been doing that for years, but I noticed the kind of Freedom of Information Act was used, which is a genius way of getting it done. But the thing is that it's quite difficult to monitor what exactly they're looking at, but they're definitely monitoring all your tweets, particularly about what I call detention centres, as they call them, which is not what they're actually called, but it's where refugees incoming into the country are put up in 4-star, 5-star hotels. That's not a good thing. They're crap holes, essentially. They're no good to them. They're just hotels, but they're stuck there until somebody tells them otherwise. And then they're sent off to work for Larry Goodman. Anyway, Robert Doyle says, hi gang, Bob, welcome back. Hope everyone's doing well. Back to half-ish lockdown here in Kildare. Very dull here. One problem we had was there's a new petrol station after opening out the road. I can't remember what it's called now. It's terrible. Anyway, it's got a Supermax. It's got some superchargers for electric things. Not superchargers, fast chargers. I tried one. It didn't work. It was broke. So it's great, isn't it? That was day one though. It just opened. And there was a leaf blocking the other one. Isn't that typical? There was a bloody leaf blocking the second one. There's two of them besides her. But what we noticed is all the roof boxes and all the people stopping for something to eat and going into this place. This is Laois. We're in lockdown. You're not supposed to be stopping here. You're supposed to pass through here and keep going. But people are stopping with their roof boxes and no masks and wandering into shops and getting their food and stuff, you know. I haven't got coronavirus. I've various masks and I have never had it. I don't even feel sick. We go out running. I'm fitter now than I was at the beginning of lockdown. It's great. Joe Wicks, I highly recommend it. Eric Rochford, welcome back, Bob, and everyone. Sundays haven't been the same. Sorry, I know, but you all need to see. Denzel Washington is a great expression. He says, if you give someone enough water, they drown. What he's talking about is in relation to having a series of things. So if you're on TV or you're on movies, and then when you're off air, if you continue being as proactive about stuff, you try and keep going all the time, then eventually people get sick of you. And so you drown, essentially. That's what he's talking about in that thing. So the same applies here in the Sunday service. I didn't want you to get too much because you get sick of it after a while. It was built to about 5,000 people were watching at that point. And I sat down with the wife here and we kind of planned a few things coming up. And there's stuff I want to run by as well, which is kind of important at the moment. One is, I want to know the podcast version of this. A brilliant thing I think we could do is have a different podcast, and a Sunday service which is not stripped audio from this one is actually its own standalone thing with its own guests and its own kind of meandering way. So a separate audio podcast, separate from this video one, because I think a lot more of you now are starting to watch the playback of this and strip the audio out as you're becoming members and things. So it's really good in that respect. We have a new member, Tobias Fisher. I can't pronounce your last name, but welcome, Tobias. Thank you very much for joining. You're very good. It's very important actually to keep the memberships thing. Patreon gives the most cut, so I get the most money from your $5 on Patreon or $10 on Patreon, whatever it is. I get the most money from there, but it doesn't matter. If you want to be a member here on YouTube, it doesn't matter. Wherever you want to be is fine by me. John Webster, Bob, thank you for having watched your A6 All-Road bi-turbo video numerous times. I got one last week and it's a sleeping beast. It certainly is. I love that car. It was on the look of your face at the Autobahn that made my mind up. Cheers. Yeah, I did. It's a kind of an old video now, but an A6 All-Road bi-turbo that I drove at an international launch. I actually drove a hybrid A8 at the same launch, if memory serves. And I went down the Autobahn in the All-Road at as fast as the car would go, essentially, as fast as I could make it go in that little short section of the Autobahn. And it was great crack. But this is a car that could climb Everest as well. The All-Road is an amazing car. Very few sales in Ireland. You don't get many of them around. They're quite expensive, I suppose, because you're looking at an estate, but you're buying well more than an estate car. But a brilliant, good choice, John Webster. Well done. Andy McAfee is here. Haven't talked to you in ages. You're here too, though. Take your time, Bob, in the kitchen ironing still, but get off the iron. At least you're not driving a bus. I suppose that's the thing. Some of you will be popping in and out as we go along. That's okay. That's all right by me. There's 109 of you watching now. Click the like button, because this is what we do every time. Because that just tells YouTube that something is happening on the channel, and they tend to give the little algorithm a nudge towards this direction, so we get more people coming to watch. Flavonite Disciple has dropped in. Good afternoon, all. Hope you all enjoyed your sabbatical, Bob. I did enjoy my little sabbatical off for a while. I will be taking one more Sunday off between now and then, but we'll come back if you want. If you want, I'll broadcast every week from now on. Keep us all going. Flavonite Disciple, in case you're wondering, was something that was, I think, coined on the last Sunday service we did, where I started calling you all Flavonites. I think Annie McPhee may have coined that. But Flavonite Disciple, yes, I like it. James Connolly, to replace a car logbook, you have to print out a form, get to the guards to stamp it, and get €12 postal order. Surely there's a better system for logbooks in 2020. You would imagine, James, that you could just go to a website, click in the details of what you're looking for, upload a passport photograph or a photograph of your passport, and verify that it's you, and with a picture, and be done with it. Has any of you ever opened a Revolut account? Because that's kind of how you do it. If you think about it, you can open a bank account like that. You can start accounts in basically everything except for tax, motor tax, revenue, any of these kind of old-fashioned, slow-moving things is where it all starts to fall apart. That's where they all kind of sit back and go, well, sure, look, it's worked since 1953 when we had felt-tip pens. It's worked since then, so why change it? That's essentially what most of these government departments are like. They're very ultra-modern in one sense, and in the other sense, they are backwards as it can be, and often very, very difficult to deal with. I had a run-in recently with the OPW, for instance. We were passing through Emo Court, and a cleaner decided to attack us for climbing over a fence when the gate was locked, with no way out of the place other than climbing over a bloody fence. We ended up in a Karen moment where this woman was screaming at us, along with her husband and her friend, complete strangers. They don't even work for the OPW, but the OPW emailed us back going, well, you know what, they don't work for us, and don't climb over fences. And it was like, what? You're missing the point. What I'm saying to you, you don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, that's old-fashioned government departments, and that's how it works, unfortunately. Andy FX7 is here. Good man. I've got a cable stuck. Hold on. How did I do that? Oh yeah, okay. I got a cable stuck under my mic. That wasn't good. I was going to chop the cable in half. Andy FX7 is here. Come on, Andy FX7, good to have you. Alan Burke, welcome back. Thank you. Luke Peters, Luuk Peters. Hi Bob, says Luke. Thank you very much. Brian O'Connell, to go back up there. Brian O'Connell, hi Bob and gang. Brian is on the membership system. It's brilliant because it highlights your name, puts a little S behind you, little small, like Superman S. It's pretty cool. I don't know if that comes up for everybody, but it comes up for me, so I can identify who's a subscriber and who's a thingamajig moderator, and I get little spanners behind Andy's name because a little spanner behind his name, and an S, so he gets both. He's like a super spanner. Hi Bob and gang, this is Brian O'Connell. Operator Hoot is here. Good afternoon, Bob and chat. Welcome back. Thank you very much. Michael Doherty, Sunday service is back. All right, with the world again. I will make the world a better place ever so slightly, slowly but surely. We will all work together to get to the end of this desperate bloody year. I'm very much in favour of literally kind of going to bed and waking up around New Year's Eve, 31st, and see how things look then. Because then we'll have missed Christmas and stuff, and it'll all be over, and we get on with getting on with having a new year and a new me and a new everything, and turning over a new leaf as we do all the time as being humans. Yigra Trus, can't pronounce that. Welcome back, Bob. Cheers from Athens in Greece. Oh yeah, well done. I was in Athens there, it seems like 5 or 6 years ago. I suspect it may have been earlier this year or possibly late last year, but I was there recently and was supposed to go back for another little trip out to Athens as well, and I actually watched a program the other day. I can't remember his name now. He's an English bloke, Simon Reeves, on Greece. That was quite an interesting program. Very good. John Coleman has popped up on my PayPal radar. Thank you very much, John Coleman. Is ardent supporter of this channel, has been a supporter of this channel for quite some time. And I've never met John Coleman. We have spoke many times, but I've never met John Coleman yet. I will get around to it, of course. But thank you very much. You can do the same down there with PayPal, Patreon. I still can never pronounce it. I don't know whether it's called Patreon or Patron. Everybody pronounces it differently. Or you can use memberships, or you can do pretty much any way you like. A $5 down the pub would be good as well. It's just beer money. It just keeps the whole thing turning over. I was in the process of buying a new camera for filming out and for actually filming here, and then there was a load of cameras released all at once. What do you call them? Canon put out the Canon EOS R, but then released the R5 and R6 or something. Sony have done the A7S Mark III has just come out as well, and they're all kind of a muchness in the price range and stuff, but so then I got confused, and then of course I got worried, and then it's like, shouldn't I buy a camera? I don't know what I should do, so I didn't. That's essentially what happened there. I just kind of relax a minute to figure out which one to buy. So I'm looking up all the reviews recently on YouTube and going through each one and see the benefits and drawbacks. I'm heavily leaning towards the Sony A7S Mark III, which would be a brilliant investment, but it's a total flip over from me because I'm totally Canon, so I'd have to get rid of all of my Canon gear, and then I would have to go into the Sony end of stuff. I've used Sony. I've had guys film with Sony. Some of the guys that have worked on the channel or I've worked with over the last few years, they've all used Sony in some or another. So I'm kind of used to it in that way. Zdenko is here. Come on, Zdenko. Haven't heard that name in a while. Hellhound. Welcome back, Bob. Good to see you, Hellhound. It was nice to have you here. Flavin Disciple has answered someone else's question. Annie McPhee says, been a lot of cases of factory production workers getting mass infections all over Europe. It's a tough one with how they are set up with semi-slave labour and the poverty main workforce driver. This is true. This is the problem. So the problem is, if you want cheap food and you have a minimum wage, something has to give. So if you only pay minimum wage and that's your bottom limit for wages, then you have an instantaneous flat cost. And this is a very clinical way of looking at things, but that's kind of the way it is, right? So you got a flat cost, so instantly that is your minimum cost. If you pay a little bit more than that, so you pay the average industrial wage, then you have a different flat cost. But just take that to be a flat cost. Then you got to buy in your products and your stuff over a line. So if you want to make any profit in this is the problem. To make a profit here, you have to pay at least minimum wage. You have to pay at least whatever the value of the stuff you're buying is. Then you have to assemble them in a factory sense. So you keep driving down the price that you pay your workers, because the most expensive thing you've got in business is your employees. They are actually the most expensive. They have the most chance of making you the most amount of money. But employees, 99% of businesses spend the most amount of money on employees. Then after that, it's stock. In some cases, stock is higher than employees, but that's very rare. Very, very rare. In modern day stuff, we don't stock much. Most businesses, like the just-in-time systems, mean you don't stock much, which is why at the beginning of the pandemic, beginning of the lockdown, almost every shop, even online shops, ran out of stock almost instantly because they don't really stock anything. Everything's kind of made on purpose. So if you're going to pay workers next to nothing to work for you, which is essentially what they do in most of these factories, you have to put more workers into a smaller area to keep all of your costs down, so you can have a slice of ham that costs tuppence. If you want that, that's what it is. Now, I tend to avoid the cheapest cuts of anything. I tend to avoid it because I just don't think they're healthy. The more processing goes into your food, the less healthy it becomes the whole time. Fine as a treat, fine as a once a week thing, it's okay. But if you're going to use it in your sandwiches every day, you're going to get sick. It's going to make you sick over time. So the best thing you can do is to buy the best quality of whatever it is you're buying. That includes fish or meat or whatever it is. Always try and do that. Wow, that's weird. I got a new graph on the screen. It tells me how much you're watching, how little you're watching, how long, what your average watch time is. Hello and goodbye. Watch time. Colin Whelan's here. Come on, Colin. Hi Bob, good to have you back, said Peter Urquhart. Thank you very much. Saw your tweets this morning. Very kind of you. Brian O'Donnell says, question Bob, thinking of changing taillights from standard to all LEDs like brakes, indicators, etc. taillights. If it would it pass the NCT? Yes, it will. Yeah, it will. No problem. Once you're changing, as modern cars have all got LED lights as well. Obviously, it would have to be a direct replacement, so you're going to have to buy, OEM manufactured size brake lights and stuff that fits there. It won't affect your NCT. The trick of NCT is that if it's there, it must be tested, right? So if you have a rear view mirror in the car and it's broken, then it's tested and failed. If you take out the rear view mirror and it's not there at all, and it's not a requirement for it to be there, then it's fine. Okay, so hence the 80s cars that only came with one wing mirror on the right hand side. They didn't bother with the left hand side. That was cutting costs. But yes, anything will pass the NCT once it's working, essentially. The NCT, the problem we have at NCT, and the problem I have at NCT, is my car passed the NCT but didn't pass because the lifts were broken before lockdown. And then they decided to go back and could we do it again? I asked the RSA, in their infinite wisdom, the RSA, who are like super bunch of people, answered me and said, just wait, don't do anything. They will be in touch with you. Don't do anything. We didn't do anything. They went onto the website one day and said, you have to touch them. You have to ask them, well, not touch them, but you have to ask them questions. You have to get in touch and ask the question. So we did. We asked the question. We got our dates, and now the NCT is booked in again. So it's this rubbish system that doesn't really do anything anymore. It's an awful antiquated thing, that NCT. It's a catch penny. It's literally a tax. That's essentially what it is now, is a tax on cars. It's a tax that isn't taken into account as a tax. It's a bit like saying the price of diesel is quite cheap until you factor in the price of AdBlue. Then it's not cheap anymore. It's this insanity we have because they're all separate charges. We don't think of them as one combined unit of a thing. So the NCT is essentially a tax on your car. Paul O'Connor says, don't forget to like, comment and share. Like, comment and share. I can't see how many likes are on the screen. I don't have a clue how that works. And viewer activity. No, streams. No, not there. Stream. No, not there. Viewer activity. You'd imagine being on viewer activity, wouldn't you? No, it was not there. Just as playbacks. That's all is there. Anyway, no problem. Garrett Talbot, welcome back. Thanks very much. Footy Ferrari, great to have you back, Bob. Thoughts on a new Yaris? Are you getting a test over the next few weeks? I still haven't booked in a test, but Toyota tend to just kind of ring you out of nowhere and go, will you drive it next week or will you drive it the week after or something? So they tend to be very quick like that. I've seen Yaris go out to dealerships, so they're already in the dealerships for sure. Yaris has always been a fairly dependable car over the years. I don't mean just reliability. It's never really been terribly exciting of a car, right? So, like, don't expect it to be, like, revolutionary, groundbreaking stuff. But as a first-time driver's car, as someone or a second car, even a primary car in the house, if it's a small household with a couple of kids in the back, they're always, like, absolutely bang on, reliable stuff. So, I have no problem even now, without even driving it, recommending it and saying it's okay. It probably will be. The only thing that ever happened to Yaris that messed it up was the steering was always a bit light. They moved the dash into the middle at one point and that didn't quite work so well. But that's all gone back more traditional now. So it's quite normal as this point. My voice isn't used to talking straight for 20 minutes, which I've done so far. I've fallen down to the habit. Anyway, that was Footy Ferrari. Welcome back, Bob's Mick Mulcahy. Good man, Mick. Colin Wheeler says interviews are great when you get the guests. You see, if I'm going to do the podcast thing, then I would go guess. The guests on the Sunday service, the actual guests on here, they were brilliant and I loved having them, but they didn't really get any more hits. I mean, Johnny Smith's interview was deadly and I really enjoyed having Johnny here. He's a lovely guy and I've chatted to him since on a couple of occasions. We're trying to arrange to do a few things in the future if the bloody lockdown ever ends. But we're trying to arrange to do a few things. But the problem is that video, which took a lot of time to set up, didn't really get any more hits than me just doing it on my own. And it is a big hassle setting up people. And then you don't know what kind of stuff they're broadcasting with. So they could be on a phone or they could be on a big mic system like I have. So you have to download more information. It gets difficult. But if it was a separate podcasting, I could go to them. Or we could meet somewhere and do it then because I could get the whole kit together to do the podcast stuff. Because it'd be audio only, you don't have a video. Or we could do it over Zoom as well, which is definitely worth a look. Jared there in the comments, you see Jared around. Carago Technologies, he can do the Zoom things for us as well. So no big deal. Andrew Wallace, thank you very much, Andrew Wallace, who has given us some money by PayPal. is very good. Thank you. I'll just check my emails, make sure I didn't get any. I should check the emails quite regularly because it's the only way I know that the patrons have appeared in. Yes, there's a few already. We're very good. Thank you very much. You're all so nice. Colin says, would love to hear the guy who's electrifying BMWs. Yeah, I will actually. You know, that'd be a good guest. And there's a few other good guests out there who know stuff about the things that are really curious to me. Like I want to know, and I have this. I've already started the research on this. So if you could get right now, you could get a kit to electrify your house from an old EV battery. It doesn't necessarily come as an old EV battery. You might have to add the battery to it yourself. It would probably cost you between 3,000 and 9,000 euro, depending on your house and stuff and your setups, solar panels and things going on the roof. But you could literally do it. And essentially, if you took an old Kona battery, or because that's all the Kona's worked for, but an old Kona battery or an old Tesla battery, one of the bigger batteries, 63 kilowatts and above. On a light household like we have here, this is relatively light. Our electricity is quite light. You could run the house for 3 days, totally off the grid, even in the dark, the battery that size. You start thinking about that. And you start thinking about how much money that could save you. You could make that money back. So you could make that 3 to 9 grand. Take the upper end of that. Say it costs 10 grand to convert your entire house over to running off a battery, an electric battery, over and you spread the cost, get a loan, spread the cost over 3 or 4 years. You could start earning that money back out of electricity in months, maybe even, a year or 2 years. You start earning it back because you stop paying that money out every bloody 3 months off the grid. Imagine that. Still have to pay your standing charge though to the ESB. Robbing swines. Always taking the money no matter what you're doing. Andrew Daly. Anyway, I'll be interested in doing an interview with someone about how someone who's done it, maybe someone who's going to do it, someone who wants to do it, that kind of stuff. That's the kind of thing that would really make me curious about how we can better utilize not just EVs on the road, which I think is happening, and I think 50% of the market, and everybody will stop talking about it. So what happens at the end of the EV life? What happens after 10 years of EVs, and we have these stacks and stacks and stacks of batteries that are being recycled and being reused and being done somewhere else? You get into that market early enough, and and all of a sudden you're in a position where you've already done all the donkey work to be able to receive these batteries as they go out of operation. Andrew Daly says, hi Bob, will you be doing a video of your Irish holiday? I'm sure loads of people would like to see that. Maybe, yeah, I suppose, yeah. I try to do the vlog thing every once in a while, I suppose. I did one at the beginning of lockdown. Yeah, not the most popular videos, but some people find them very curious because they don't see Ireland the way I see Ireland. I think Ireland's a brilliant country. I think it's an absolutely fascinating, fantastic little part of Western Europe. And we do so many things fantastic. And yet people constantly beat you with look at Norway, look at the way they do things, look at New Zealand, the way they do things. It's just this constant looking at every other country and going, they're better than us. They're not. We're better than them on a huge amount of stuff. And so when I show it in video, it's always really good. Like my walk around Dublin, which I did years ago now at this stage, still gets comments all the time. These people I love to hear Irish accents. Oh, yeah, I remember Trinity College when it looked like that. And it's all different now, actually. Funny. It's like a moment in time, frozen. Andrew Wallace says, hi Bob, car sales dead. Does that mean bargains on the horizon? No, I guarantee you're not going to get any bargains. There's a reason behind that. Okay, so new car sales are down by 18, nearly 19% overall. Even electric cars are down by 1%. So they weren't big sales. They were only 3% of the market anyway. But this like brand new technology, now there's market is getting flooded with them, and all of a sudden, woof, the sales fall flat. The reason, everything's very expensive. Also, it's quite hard to get a hold of cars at the moment. The backlog of factories that were closed down for weeks, they're ramping back up again, but the social distancing is slowing down the output, so there's not as many cars coming out. Ireland and England get an allotment in the German manufacturing, so if you order a German car, any German car, you get an allotment, so they get like a 2-week period or a 3-week period or maybe a month where they produce nothing but right-hand drive cars, and at that point that's where that had shut down. So we're waiting for that to ramp up again. But also behind that case is second-hand cars are selling very well, so a lot of people are shifting second-hand cars. Now, I've talked to multiple dealers recently. I've even done some work for a couple of dealers recently as well, and they're saying the same things. They can't get enough second-hand cars to sell at reasonable rates. So it is definitely, the market is reversed at the moment. People are not buying new cars really. More people are buying used cars, but the used car market is running thin. So you'll find right now, in about 4 years, 3-4 years, there'll be a flat point where the used cars will be very low because they recycle every 3 years. So we're quite high in used cars now because 3 years ago we sold a lot of used cars, or sold a lot of new cars. David Fulton. So I'm on the mobility scheme in the north and a new Golf 8 on the style variant. Both ETSI and TDI 150 are the same deposit on DSG. Which would you go for? Great show. David Fulton, mobility scheme. I would go, if I could, I would go to ETSI. It's quite a nice car to drive. So it's very smooth, definitely with DSG. If the deposit is the same, it's a kind of no-brainer. Now, if your mileage is a bit higher, so if you're doing a lot of miles, particularly if you're going to be stuck on motorways a lot and you're going to be driving at higher speeds for longer distances, that's where the TDI will come into its own and will pay for itself very quickly, because that long range stuff is where TDIs win. TDIs aren't dead. I promise you, for the next 10 years we're going to be producing TDIs. I've spoken to multiple people at factory level, at top end level. The mood is changing. They're starting to see where TDIs can fit into the market and where they're going to be. Electric, yes, electric will continue to gobble into the lead of TDI, but for very specific reasons, TDIs can manage very long range if you want a Golf. ETSIs is what's called a mild hybrid, so it gives a slight assistance to the engine when you're accelerating and when you're ticking over. Essentially, when you stop the car in traffic, it sits on the battery, it doesn't sit on the engine anymore. But I would go on the short range or city range or congestion charge areas, ETSI. If not, if you're going on the motorway, then go TDI 150. Lovely. And in DSG, yes please. Luke McNamara. Hi Bob, what would you recommend for a €1,500 first car? History is going to be everything for €1,500 cars. It's quite a thin market. There isn't a lot of €1,500 cars to be got in the first place. So history is king. How it's been looked after, how well people have treated it, who was the last owner on it, because the last owner who's getting rid of it now would be the one who's gone through the kind of worst end of the market, you know, because a car does kind of three things. The first 6 or 8 months of a car rattles, things rattle, things can become loose, have to be tightened up. So the first owner in the car looks after most of that. When it gets to the second owner of the car, usually all the recalls have been done, all the servicing has been done, and the second person gets it, and then it starts to fall apart. That person tends to treat the car very hard. When you get down to that end of the market, down to €1,500 cars, you're talking about maybe a car that has 3 or 4 owners on it, may have been a first-time driver's car, may have had a few little dings and scratches and marks and clatters. I wouldn't be so worried about paint work. I'd look for rust at that point. Definitely look at service history. Try to go for a car that has a timing chain rather than a timing belt. Nissan do that. There's still not many cars do, but Nissan would have been one that does a timing chain because they're fire and forget. You kind of don't have to change them until you can hear them when they're rattling. And it sounds like a chain jangling inside your car. It's time to change the timing chain, by the way. You can, but after that, when you're looking at the actual car yourself for 1,500 quid, depends what you want to use it for. If it's going to be the commuter car taking it to work every day, you want the most reliable yoke that you can just turn the key and go, and that's it. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about how well it drives or alloys or tire. Just check how much things cost. A commuter car, good commuter car is like a Corolla, right? Just a plain bog standard basic diesel Corolla with no hubcaps or nothing on it. The worst you can find. If it can pass an NCT, that's what I'd use to commute to work. And then I'd save me money and buy something nice for the weekend, like an MX-5 or something, something sporty as a second car. Jordi LaForgery says, welcome back, nice tan. Have a tan? I suppose. A little bit. I haven't worn big boy pants for a good 5 months now. I'm in shorts the whole time. I don't bother with long trousers. Nobody ever sees me from here up. Why would I bother with the long trousers? I never bother. So I have a nice tan in my legs. I haven't had a run today. I might go for a run after the Sunday service is over. 33 minutes have gone already. What? This is the fastest 2 hours. Actually, coming up, I'm working on a radio show. That's for sure. We're working to do an actual radio show on the real radio, not on the internet. So you'll be able to join me in that. But we will have a streaming service and a backlog service. It's just, we're just negotiating over a few things, what it's going to be. It'll probably be a music show more than anything, which is where I want to be. Also working on 2, not 1, but 2 TV shows. 2, which are further along than any other TV show that's ever been in touch with me. And over the last 10 years, lads, I've had conversations with every single production company in the world, I think, at this stage, where they email and go, Bob, we're really excited to get this opportunity off the ground when we're going to get you and this guy and we're going to make a TV show, and then nothing happens. That's what happens. And after a while, you become jaded. You go, yeah, that's okay. Contact him when he got funding. that's usually what happens. But we're a bit further along, so we got a couple of TV things on the way. I can't talk about details of them yet because they're still up in the air, but it's very exciting stuff. I think one of them particularly, I think, will go ahead. I really do, and I think it'll be here in Ireland anyway, for sure. Maybe UK, but Ireland at the moment. Cross 13, there's a name I haven't seen in ages. How are you? What's the story, Jory? Are you alright? Mini Eggs, happy Sunday, Bob. It is Sunday, yeah. I enjoyed your twin test with Nobby. How's access to press cards now? What reviews are coming up next? I've had pretty much every press card that is on the fleet at some point now already. There's about 10 reviews in the can. I spent the last couple of weeks filming 4 cars a week. That's essentially, I've done a couple of twin tests. I've done the one with Nobby, which is actually more recent. I filmed Model 3, test the Model 3. I filmed Peugeot, was it Peugeot 208? Yeah, Peugeot E208 and 208, the petrol one. There's tons. And when I say tons, I was actually supposed to get into the new Ford Kuga tomorrow, but it's been recalled. In case you didn't notice, the Kuga goes on fire when you plug it in. Essentially, that's what Ford said. It's not my words. Don't plug it in is the advice of the new Ford Kuga, which is a disaster for Ford and a disaster for electric cars as well. Because this is exactly the ammunition that ICE owners and people who are on that internal combustion engine stuff going, I'll never get out of my diesel car. That's exactly the ammunition they needed for Ford, a massive multinational company, to come out and go, well, our cars go on fire when you start them up. It just doesn't look well. It looks stupid, you know. It should have been tested. It should have been, we're long enough at this to know it should have been tested. It's not that hard, like. Calanuts with lots of Z's. Hi Bob. Daimler had a 2.1 billion euro losses in quarter 2, and they received 1.9 billion in fines in the USA for Dieselgate. Do you believe in return of the Germans? No. Currently, it seems that everybody's out to get the Germans, because the Germans, I don't mean Germans, I mean German car makers, because the Germans have intruded in everybody's territory. So they've intruded into America, they've intruded into China, they've intruded everywhere, and of course everybody's kind of wants them to get a slap on the back of the neck, because Volkswagen is the biggest car manufacturer in the world. Like, it's massive company. When you start looking into some of the drawers they've got there, and you see how much money they make. And they're paying fines left, right, and centre, billions and billions and billions going out the whole time, and it's starting to take an effect, a big effect on the company. So much so they're kind of reducing costs and trying to get the cost down and getting rid of people quietly, just shifting things around in the background to make it all a bit cheaper. Now, Daimler is another company that was done for Dieselgate. They're not alone. Everybody had a little swing. Everybody was at something in the Dieselgate. Volkswagen got pinned on the shirt, but everybody was looking at Volkswagen going, how are they doing that? And can we do that? So it made a big difference. But Daimler was the one that's going to have a big problem in the future. And I really do think that kind of fines and money, they can defer that stuff. They can make it roll over time. But there just comes a point where it becomes insane that the figures 1.9 billion, 2.1 billion euro, it means nothing to us because we can't perceive that kind of money, but these guys trade that in an afternoon, and it hurts the company all the time. Now is a good time to buy Daimler stock, though, I reckon, if you're going to buy stocks. Calanuts, wait till look at me Revolut and see can I buy Daimler stock. Moreover, there are no German OEMs that build a factory in Germany in the last 20 years, yet Tesla's building a factory in Berlin. Why would they build a factory? They've already got factories. They've already got them there. I mean, I've been in Volkswagen's factory. I've been in Wolfsburg. I've been in Audi's factories. I've been, they're all there. Audi has whole towns that have been built around a factory. The factory's in the middle of the town and everything is around it. And everybody in the town works for the factory or works for the local hotel or works for the local shops. And everybody works in that town. So amazing to see how those things work. German OEMs don't necessarily need to build a factory. Tesla is being let build a factory in Berlin. We'll see. Competition is good. Competition is great for us. We got the new Lidl app, and in the Lidl app you get 25 quid or £5 off your first 25 spend, and you get €5 a week or some stuff. And the next day, Dunn Stores emailed us or sent out something in the post with €5 off this, that and the other. Tesco sent it out. Aldi, we don't know anything about discounts. But, the rest of them compete. So competition is brilliant when one of them does something. So Tesla going to Germany will wake up the German car market knowing that Tesla's there. Tesla is right now the king of everything. I would say 6 months from now, Tesla's stock will start to burn and crash a little bit because they're also the high point of their stock market. Because I don't think they can do the numbers. I don't think, like when Volkswagen decide that they're going to do the numbers, that they're going to produce that many cars that quick, you're going to find that the market will saturate. And when the market saturates, that's when things start to fall apart. Look at Apple's share price. Look at Samsung's share price. Because the market now is stagnating in the phone market, in the device market. It's starting to stagnate now because everybody's bought something that's fairly recent and they don't want to change again. Same will happen with electric cars. You'll get to the point, someone will buy a Model 3 and they may not ever change it. They might just hold on to Model 3 for 10 years and that's that. That's the end of it. They're not going to buy another electric car. So it's great to have this first resurgence or just resurgence of a market. But the market eventually saturates and then you find that the sales start to, your conquest sales all the time. You're consistently conquesting those sales, trying to get them off somewhere else. So the market stabilizes at 250,000 cars. And it doesn't matter how many new cars are released, the market basically sticks around the 250 mark. So it's 250,000 of the same sort of spread, and the top 10 just keeps changing around. Cross 13 says, watching my old i3 go through the NCT was hilarious. Took them 5 minutes to figure out how to turn the car on, and every single station they couldn't run the test for one reason or another. It's that gas. Braking tests wouldn't run because of regen, etc. That is, this is how antiquated NCT is now. We are so, we've had electric cars for 10 years, right? My channel is 10 years old, is how I know. And I was at the Irish launch. The first video on my channel is the Irish launch of the Nissan Leaf. It used to be the second video. I had another video that was calling out a woman for parking on double L lines, but that's gone. But the launch of this Leaf was 10 years. So we had 10 years of Leaf. Now, I know the sales have been quite low, but a 10-year-old car gets an NCT once a year. We need to start thinking about that, right? Once a year, every single year. Who's ringing me? Someone has no caller ID. This is how I don't answer that phone when it says no caller ID. Good luck. But we now are in a situation where more than half the tests can't be done on these electric cars because of regenerative braking, because of electronic parking brakes are also causing hassle for NCT. Can I say, because normally you would pull up the handbrake and the car would hop up and you're testing the brakes in the back, but the electronic parking brakes, when you pull them, they don't necessarily run like that. Some of them give trouble and they fail, and then the company goes, no, hang on, that didn't fail. I can't fail in that because that's why. So we have a system where a Spanish company is making a fortune from absolutely everything, which is Appliance, and we are forking the bill out, and it's still a tax. NCT is not fit for purpose really anymore. It did its job. It definitely did its job. Back in the 80s, cars were rubbish, lads, and I mean, God, I drove some of these cars with the brake pads gone. You could hear the scraping of the caliper on the brake disc. It's crazy how far we've come with cars. But now there's so few cars out there now. We really need to rethink how the NCT works and what it does and what it's for and how it happens and who's doing it, and there's lots of stuff going on. Brian O'Donnell says, I had a very good vehicle which was loaded with everything and ran like a dream, and also most comfortable but I had to change because insurance quotes were getting high and I was 10 years old. Now, funny, my car is 15 years old and I won't give them a plug anyway. I've been with the same insurance company for a few years now, and I've never ever had a question from them about the age of the car. Not once. I switched insurance companies 3-4 years ago, so the car's been switched. I switch whenever the insurance doesn't work out. And this year I paid the same insurance as I paid last year, which was about 6% more than I paid the year before. So I've had very little, it's probably my age, My wife is on the insurance. We're fully comprehensive on the car as well in case we actually hit something that we have to pay out for. But even at 15 years, I've had no problem. And I do it by phone every year. I go do the comparison things on the websites, and I take that as my point of reference. We used a couple of ones that I can't remember the name now. I don't want to plug anybody, but I've used a couple of price comparison websites over the last while, and they've been wildly out compared to my actual insurance quote. And 99% of the time, if I go to the website of the insurance company, the quote that comes in is nowhere near the quote that I end up getting in the end. So it's definitely worth phoning about and checking with the particularly home-based ones that are here in Ireland, that are actually based here. I know they're supposed to be all based here, but ones that are native to Ireland. A couple of insurance companies actually have physical offices, and brokers can help you out if you're really running into trouble. Brokers are often very, very good at getting insurance when you can't get it from anywhere else. So it's worth a phone around. Johnny Dubb. Didn't get a notification of this, Bob. How's the form? It's great. So much today, Bob. Snooker F1. I know, I was watching snooker. I was actually watching Steve Davis do a little documentary on the Crucible last night. I was massive into snooker in the 80s. Huge. God almighty, I loved it. Myself and my father, right up to 85, used to watch Hurricane Higgins and Steve Davis and Cliff Thorburn and all these guys from years ago. And then I started to play snooker, of course, and played and became quite good at it. And then sort of fell out of it over the years, and I don't really know any of them anymore, but it is back on again. F1 I'm not so interested, never have been, and football I don't do at all. Sorry if you're a football-y person. A lot of guys meet me and they either start talking about cars or football, and if I go football. Did you see the match last night? What match? I don't watch the stuff, so I don't really watch football or sports. And F1's getting better again, but it was boring for the last few years. It's taken a while for it all to come back around. I cannot watch it with all the lads. Well, you don't have to watch it. You just listen to us in the background. You turn everybody else down because they're all visual things. You don't need to be watching me, right? You need to listen to me and watch them. That's how it works. Brian O'Donnell's car passed the NCT. Every NCT, like my car's passed every NCT as well, but they won't insure it. This is how they get you out of these old cars. They think it's a good thing, But yet, when we're getting a first-time driver's car, it has to be the crappiest car we can find because the insurance is so high in it. It's just insane. And the first-time driver needs the most protection. Sebastian Draghi, which I always confuse with someone who comments a lot, but it's a name that rings a bell from EU times. Sebastian Draghi was the same person. Anyway, he's talking to David Fulton, not me. Maminsk is here. Bob, when adding power to a car, why do more people choose supercharged over turbos, which is better than for an add-on? Okay, so supercharged gives you better fuel economy and it gives you a more predictable. So supercharges is always running. A supercharger is always going. It just spins faster to make the car go faster. Turbos actually turn off. So a turbocharges the exhaust gases going out, giving you more compression, which makes the car go harder, but it's less predictable because it tends to come on or off. So 1 minute you got no power, the next minute it's all there, and it's wow. Superchargers are more predictable. You can actually turn the supercharger on and off. If you think about it, Mad Max's car, that big blower on the top, that's a supercharger. So it's pushing air down into the system. And you can actually switch it on and off. So you can make it turn on and off and create a switch inside. You can do that for turbos as well. There's no good reason to choose one over the other, fuel economy or turbo or power or whatever. Just some car makers prefer the idea of supercharging the engine because it's more predictable power, more power across the range. More power is added right the way up to the rev range, whereas turbochargers go so far and then they give up. Turbochargers are better on diesel engines because diesel tends to be more about fuel economy and you just want kind of power to tow stuff, so you push up the revs, where superchargers work better in petrols, but you can put a turbo in if you want to. Mr. Man Buzz, the biggest lie I've ever been told about driving is my insurance is going down after a few years no claims bonus, still paying over $1,000 a year with no points claims and 5 years NCB. Yes, it is. Because if you actually look at your insurance, your no claims bonus over 10 years, you're 12 years no claims bonus, this is great, lovely discount. And you look at it, it starts out at $2,000 or something. So well, hang on a second. How much does it cost to insure a car if I had no claims bonus? It's just this crazy idea that we have that insurance helps us. It's a monopoly. Insurance is a monopoly in this country. It has been for years. There's nothing we can do about it as users. We, by law, must have insurance. I do tend to look, in this case, I tend to look away into the distance when it comes to New Zealand. I lived in New Zealand for a time, and in New Zealand, by law, you don't have to have insurance or tax on your car. So here's how it works, right? When you buy fuel, which is very expensive in New Zealand, but when you buy fuel in New Zealand, petrol or diesel, you pay a tax. That tax pays the motor tax on the car and also pays into a minimum fund of insurance, right? So a minimum fund is third party fire and theft. They're not going to replace your car, but if you crash into someone else, it pays out with them. Now, we do the same here. We actually have one of those systems. So if you get hit by an uninsured driver, you can claim against the state effectively, and they pay out. So we actually have that already. It's already there. But by law in New Zealand, you can drive any car because all cars are insured at all times. And that's how it works. But if you actually want to pay for third party or pay for fully comprehensive insurance in New Zealand, it's very reasonable because you don't have to have insurance. So it's a bonus to have insurance. So they like giving you insurance in New Zealand, and it works very well. So anyway, that's the rip-off that we have here in this country of insurance. We still have a closed book. We don't have competition across the EU. Most of our insurance companies do not exist in the EU. They only exist here, and it's a complete and utter joke. So, and I'd like to see the end of it, but that's the way things are, I'm afraid. Robert Mulhall, great to see the Son and Stars back in. Thanks, Robert. You're very kind. Liam Brady, Bob, exclamation mark. You're using exclamation mark this early in the show? What's going on? I've recently developed a fascination with camper vans. Yes, you picked the wrong time of the year to do it, but yes. And couldn't believe it when I discovered your interest in them. I love to own a Volkswagen California unless you recommend others. No, I don't. California all the way. Now, there is a couple of bespoke companies who convert what's called a Volkswagen T5. So the van that is based on, transporter. And they convert one of those into basically a California without buying a California, right? So you can get a kind of used camper van out there, and you can get yourself a conversion to a proper California. But if you want to just walk into a dealership and buy a finished product that's done in a factory and comes to you and that's it, the Volkswagen California is it. They're one of the few companies that still make their own camper vans. Mercedes do one as well called a Marco Polo. Now, basically the only two out there that make their own ones. Now, Renault Ireland done a deal with Cozy Campers, which also they take in the Renault cars and they turn them into, or Renault vans and turn them into camper vans. So, but that is a bespoke. They're quite slow. They're not terribly expensive, but there is only a few of them up there, and they do a fabulous job. And one of my favourite yokes was the Renault that we had recently. Was that a Master or was it a smaller one? It was a smaller one. It was brilliant and reasonably priced, but at the moment camper vans are in huge demand in Ireland. Do not buy one. You'll be buying right now at the very top of the market, right? This is camper vans right now. If you can find one for sale, you're going to be buying at the highest price they've been for years. But yes, I do love a good camper van. I do. But we do have we do camping anyway. We have tents and stuff. You know, you can do that sort of thing as well. You can just buy a good tent. You can buy a really, 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 really good tent for 500 to 800 quid. That'll sleep for and be, the water resistance will be very high. It'll have a sewn in ground sheet. It'll be very good. A couple of air mattresses, some camping stoves and stuff. You know, for €1,000 you can kit yourself out in a brilliant system that you'd be very comfortable in for a week in a campsite, in a tent, without having a camper van. And then the good part of that is when you get to the campsite, you still got a car. That's the hardest part of a camper van, is when you get to the campsite and you unpack your stuff and you're there, and then you figure out you need to go to the shop. Now you have to pack everything back up again. Get back in the camper van and drive it on. It's both the kind of problem and the benefit of camper vans. Keith Colton. Fikra Cook is another Irish guy converting an Audi 80 to an EV and documenting it on YouTube. I think I've met him. I have a feeling I've met him. There's a good few of this going on in Ireland right now because it's actually fairly easy. There's actually a course, I think, in DCU that I was supposed to give a talk at, who are converting or who are working on how to convert a race car to electric car. And it's really interesting stuff to see. It's very easy. And I love the idea. I love the idea of taking a scrapper car, crap old Corolla or something, and taking the guts out and sticking it in a battery engine. Brilliant. But if you're taking like a Jaguar E-Type and you're ripping out that beautiful V8 3-litre petrol engine out of it and it's running nicely and you're putting an electric car, don't ever talk to me again. Because that's just heresy of the greatest amount. Don't be converting cars that had a good engine in the first place. like a big old stock V8 or something. Those engines are bliss. You know, there's beautiful things to work on. You started so little, it doesn't matter. So go out, convert whatever other car you want into electric. If it's a crap engine or it's just an ordinary car, it doesn't matter. Make electric all you want. Gareth Talbot, hi Bob, in the same spot as you on the NCT, during the last test spotted mechanic messing with the radio. When I got the car back, I checked the volume was turned up all the way. Childish behaviour. That's stupid. Why would you do that? Unless you're trying to turn it down and by mistake turn it up. I have a problem with the NCT in another respect. I really do think that there should be a camera in the car with the NCT tester. I think it should be all filmed. I think it should be all public. There shouldn't be any secrecy because they take the cars. And I've seen it. One morning when I was down having my own car tested, there was a little woman in front of me. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I mean she was tiny. She was like 5 foot. And she had to be in her 60s. Maybe even towards her 70s. And she looked nervous about this whole operation of having to sit in this crappy room. It's a horrible little dismal place you sit in while you're waiting for NCT. It's a dirty hole and you're all behind glass, and when you come up and hand your keys over, your man disappears off. And I could hear, it was an old starlet, I could hear this guy rev the car, and the noise of it, I could hear it inside. Like, I'm standing there going, that doesn't need to be done. You don't need to be revving the balls out of it. Like, it's only a little starlet. The woman probably does about 60 kilometres a week. And she came out and she passed, but I reckon that guy has shortened the lifespan of that car. I reckon he revved that so hard that he's definitely, after topping out the cylinders or something, you know, he's done something to it for sure. And that's just not fair. So I think there should be accountability at all times, and I think they should be filmed, and I think the system should be checked as to how high they've revved it. I think we should have a maximum amount per age of the car. It's so easy to damage some of these older cars. There's nothing wrong with them, they're just getting damaged by use, you know. So I think a lot of the NCT is childish stuff and shouldn't really be like that. Footy Ferrari, really enjoyed the twin test with Nobby on cars. We had a good time filming that. We had a bit of a laugh, like the two of us filming that thing. Neither of us knew what each other said when we filmed the internal bit of the car driving down. So Nobby going, Bob was already sitting in that car telling how good it is. I had no idea he said that till I seen the edit. It was funny. I edited that one, but I had no idea what he was actually saying inside the car. Outside the car, we knew we were talking about it. I wonder if the charger removed from the red cow. Any more videos planned with Mark? Lockdown again has screwed up any plans we had for more videos, but yeah, we will make, myself and Mark make more videos. That has 13,500 views, so I don't have a problem with that. Any video gets that kind of views will always be replicated. We'll do more twin tests. The problem is some of the information we put out there was actually wrong. You can't claim BIK back on a PHEV only on an electric car, but that's okay. We corrected that in the comments underneath. But it's funny. It's just funny when you hook up with someone else in a twin test, how open it becomes. I find a lot of people in Ireland who do YouTube channels, even car YouTube channels, are very insular. They don't want to do this. Oh no, I'm better than you, or I don't want to be part of that, or I don't want to be in that video, or they want to be in my video, but they don't want me in their video. You know what I mean? So there's this point of like they want the viewership that I have, they want the audience I've got, but they don't want to do anything for it in return. So I find that a lot. I find that a hell of a lot on a lot of people out there. But I don't mind if someone comes with a good suggestion to do something. I'm okay with that. I'm all in for helping everybody. If all Irish YouTubers became pretty good or pretty big, we'd be taken more seriously in general across the world. But right now it's just full of like makeup artists who are all dying of death at the moment because they can't get any makeup, and you know, it's full of kids in their rooms at home. It's seen as a childish platform, and in actual fact there's people like me out there, professionals, who are really doing this, like really making a go of this, and it's very exciting to be part of. There's Desmond Hare talking to you. Well, actually I was texting him this morning, asking him technical questions. Des is a brilliant guy for asking technical questions about installing your home chargers. Professional electrician. Very good, but he's there in the comments. Exciting things possible with EV batteries. Maybe we might do a series on house conversion. I was thinking that myself. That's what I was looking at. I was curious this morning. Some other tweet got me piqued. My interest piqued on it. It was something about refurbishing batteries and put them into houses and things. I'm thinking, well, how easy is that? Like, if someone rocked up outside my door right now and dropped a Tesla battery on the ground, could I turn that into a power for my house And would it be easy? Who would I have to hire? How much does it cost? So I started, that's a course I immediately asked Des this morning. And like, that's a really good suggestion. I'd really like to do that. I love explaining things to people and trying to figure out how to do it and how hard is it and how much of a headache is it to talk to the ESB and go, well, I'm just going to power from this battery now. I don't need you anymore. How do you do that? Can it be done? Could we put enough solar panels onto a house to charge the battery in a way that we'd never have to use, or very rarely have to use, electricity to charge things? Because we're a gas-fired house, so we heat our water from gas, not from electricity, although we do have an immersion. Could I turn off the gas and run the electricity to have the immersion? It's getting curious now. How much money can I save on? There could be something in this. That'd be very interesting to do, actually, in fairness. Cross13 says, I put in an order for 3 pallets of PV panels for the farm, 25 kilowatt P. What's KP? What's the P at the end of solar? Just waiting on a freed in tariff next year. That's what's coming as well. This is the part. In Ireland, currently, the ESB won't buy electricity back from you. So even if I was to put in a massive battery, filled it to 100%, and could produce even more, in other words, I'm making more electricity than I need, ESB won't buy that from me. So I've no incentive to go that route, because why would I bother? No one's going to buy it from me. In the UK, they do buy it back from me, but from next year, ESB is going to buy it back. I don't even know the rate yet, but certainly they will buy it back off us. So if we can get in a position where we have solar panels on the roof to charge the battery charges to 80 or 90%, and after that we don't need it, we can sell the excess back to the grid, and we can buy it back into the grid. It's a two-way system rather than being a one-way system. And we just got a new smart meter, actually, which was put in by ESB. I have no idea why, because they still come around and open the thing and look at it to get the reading off it. Why would you do that? Why would a smart meter come with some sort of system whereby this is just uploaded? What? Like, it makes no sense. You can make Wi-Fi move by electricity. Dominic Gavin, hi Bob, will you be getting the test new Kuga Hybrid anytime soon? I was supposed to be tomorrow, Dominic, but it was recalled. The car was recalled. It's rescheduled now for later on in the year, because the batteries go on fire when you charge it. So don't charge. If you have one, don't charge it. And if you're going to get one, stop. Don't buy one. Loads of other cars out there, PHEVs, don't go on fire when you charge them up. Just saying, yo. Peter says, hi Bob, is AdBlue expensive in Ireland? In the UK it's €7 for 10 litres, which is about 7,000 miles in my Yeti. Kind of around the same, about €8 I think it is for 10 litres, €9. You can get it in most of the shops. It's expensive when you buy it at like a petrol station, but you can get it cheaper if you order in bulk. Often it's not a thing I think about too much. When I'm actually testing the fuel economy of a car, I don't drive 7,000 kilometres, so I never see that AdBlue. And when I see it, it says, the car will not start in 2,000 kilometres. Sure, I only drive maybe 500 or 800 kilometres a week at most. So the best part then is that we don't take in the price of AdBlue in the price of fuel, which we should do. We should do that. Well, it should be part of it. Same as running costs for a car should include its NCT. Because it's just another tax on the car. I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to make that a phrase. I'm going to make a t-shirt. NCT is just a tax on cars. John, who's just called John. Now, no last name. Anyway, hey Bob, where I work, I have no electric charging stations, and I live in a first floor masonette. From what you know, can I get an EV charger installed? You can. The problem is the parking space more than you can get. So you can get permission to put in an EV charge point outside, and I believe Des might be able to correct me on this. We can make it happen so it goes onto your ESB bill. You need permission, because if it's a rented accommodation, obviously you need permission of the landlord to get that done. But you still get the grant and get everything else. The problem is usually a parking space. So if you've got an allotted parking space, you've got one charge point, you're going to have to have a card to open that, but EV Box can sort it out for you as well, because I actually have a fob here and a card, and I think there's an app coming as well that you can use for EV Box to unlock the charging station. So you can do it. It just requires a lot of permissions. The major problem we had up to now with people living in first floor, second floor, third floor is running a cable out the window from your own plug upstairs. But now we can make it happen. Get in touch with John. If you get in touch with Des Mulhare in the comments, he's there in the comments, or you'll find him just Mulhare Electrical. Just do a Google search, give him a phone, he'll answer your questions immediately and tell you exactly what you need to know. Mulhare Electric, that's the one you need to talk about. Cross 13, Tesla's Fremont factory shut down, mainly impacted production on weeks for EU-bound cars. Hence a bunch of headlines this month about Tesla sales in the EU flatlining and misattribution to new EVs in the market. Yes, I know there is a lot. So Tesla set themselves up as a target, and this is really the problem. I'll be honest with you. Musk goes out so publicly about everything. It means that every time something goes wrong in the Tesla world, everybody goes, "Oh, Tesla! Oh, look at them! Oh, I'm going to write something nasty about Tesla." The realistic point is, every car manufacturer had a problem over the last few months making things, actually putting product out, because their factory workers are at home. Like, how do you make cars when no one's in work? And then when they come back, they all have to be isolated. So you'll see them walking around in bubbles, and they've got their little trays, have got like glasses around them, and all this sort of stuff's going on, trying to get back up production again. They will get back up production eventually. Tesla will open here in Europe eventually and make cars here too, which will cut down their carbon emissions, because they currently make cars in Fremont and then put them onto a ship and ship them to us over this way. So it's not very fuel efficient to do that sort of thing. Plus their support network is actually supported by a Ford Transit, a diesel one. So, which is okay. They just have one because they don't make vans. So they will, I think, eventually though. I know they have their big truck thing going on, which is happening. The only one that makes a good, decent electric van that I've driven so far, and I have a couple of them coming up. I'm going to do a van review, by the way. I'm trying to put 3 or 4 of them into one single week, and that's going to be good. I'm going to do a sort of a van roundup, and I think you might like that. So we're going to test an electric van versus diesel van. I'm trying to get the Nissan thing, but the Nissan electric van, but I actually have a Chinese electric van, a company I think is going to go places very soon. I have their diesel one the same week, and I'm after getting myself a Toyota Pro Ace thing as well on the same week, and I'm going to test them all against each other and see which one's the best one of the lot. I don't normally do vans, but I've had a gazillion requests from guys to talk about vans and see which one's comfy and which one's good, because they're all much of a muchness on space, weirdly. Sorry, the voice isn't used to doing this for 2 hours. I've been going for 1 hour and 6 already. I won't be able to talk for the rest of the week. Brian O'Donnell says, would love to get a VW camper van or similar. Oh my god, I've missed a gazillion questions. I'm coming, don't worry, I'll be there in a minute. Would love to get a VW camper van or similar, but my other half says no way. Why no way? Why are you even asking? Go out one day and come home in the van. That's it. Don't say a word. Just park it outside the window. It'll blot out the sun in your front room because it'll be big yoke. But just park it outside and say nothing. Put the keys on the hall tab. Forget it. Just forget it. Don't mention it until the other half goes, who wants the camper van? You go, well, I do. And then show around the bed and the thing and the kitchens and the stuff and the things inside, and show all the drawers and stuff, and then just whimper for a week or so. You have somewhere to sleep. If you get thrown into the doghouse, you can sleep in a bloody camper van. Don't be worrying about it. Just go and do what you have to do. You don't need permission to do it. You have my permission to go and buy the camper van. Annie McAfee says, ironing is now complete. Where were you till this time? What's going on? And 2 large breaded cod fillets in the oven. Likes left on all accounts, and bread. We had fish and chips last night. Actually, we did, and I don't know what we're having for tonight. I haven't a clue. Won't know for another couple of hours. I'd say we're awful. We tend not to, we like to eat what we want in the day, rather than we don't do like fish and chips on a Tuesday and shepherd's pie or something on a Thursday. We don't really do that. We just kind of go, what do you want for dinner? It's the worst question and the best question in the house as well. Fortunately enough, we're really good cooks. We really do like our own food, so we do cook a lot. Actually, more or less all the time. Although the other night we did order a Lana. I don't know if you've ever heard of Lana, but they make some gorgeous stuff. A Thai red curry from Lana is like God's own food. Just saying, it's about 6 gazillion calories, but it's really nice. Get it with beef, by the way. Cross 13, where are you? Cross 13 is asking John some questions. Joe Lyons, Bob, got mugged in town this morning. They took €4 for 12 minutes parking in Dawson Street car park. I've reported this to the Gardaí. Motorists are being financially forced out of the city. Correct, Joe Lyons, you're dead right. Nobby on Cars, as he mentioned in the video as well, was charged €8 for charging his electric PHEV car, which would have cost €4 more to charge as well. So it ain't cheap to own a car these days, and it certainly isn't cheap to park anywhere in the city. They really do have a hatred of cars in the city. And in some degree, I agree with some of it. The problem is we seem to be comparing Dublin to London, or, you know, places that have massive congestion problems. We're working towards this point of not having cars at all in the city, when in actual fact, cars and transport, it's all part of a transport network. We're all part of it. A personal car is not the enemy, but giving people alternatives like the lunatic Eamon Ryan, who doesn't seem to believe that electric scooters are good, is just insane. Like, this is a stupid thing. These are part of the future, and you may think men or, you know, grown adults on a scooter look stupid, but I'm telling you, once you start using them, once you start working on them, start getting around the town, and you kind of go, why would you want to even own a car when you have one of these things? You know, you're flying through traffic. It's an amazing little thing. So it's all part of a transport solution. So like trains, Lewis, buses, everything electrified, all that network electrified, and then a certain amount of cars allowed into that system is going to work so well if we just do it properly, instead of doing this piecemeal stuff of, let's make 2 bike lanes. Yeah, but what about this? Everybody goes, yeah, but this doesn't work. And that's what happens. Nobody seems to do this kind of holistic idea of what it could all be like if we all work together on it. / end rant. Eric Rocher is absent due to power cut. Is he? A power cut? Jeez, look at this, lads. We're talking about electric cars. We've had a power cut from one of our stalwart members out there. Well, you know what? We got candles. We have a little bit of daylight left. It is starting to darken early in the evening. It's 3 o'clock. It looks dark out there now. David Fulton, thanks for your help. Think of a TDI. We'll do an about 45-mile round trip on a dual carriageway. Appreciate it. 45 miles round trip all the time, always on a dual carriageway. TDI is the best way. If you're into the Golf thing, because they don't have an electric one, you could wait for ID3, certainly would do it. Tesla Model 3 would certainly do it all the time. Some of the smaller EVs would do it, but if EV's not your thing, or you're not interested in plugging them in, forget about it. Wizardon is here. Wizardon. Hi Bob, he says. Howie M. Have you seen the new English Mark 8 GTI video reviews that came out? Thoughts? GTI, lads, I don't know if GTI is really going to be the way to go anymore. I'll be honest with you, I've seen a few, and I talked to some trusted people who I know are on the trips. I don't know if Golf GTI, I know it has to be made, but I'm not sure it's going to continue being made. I think there's so many other things that are going on right now. I think the sales of GTI were always quite low. They seemed high for a while because it was the price of it narrowed. The price of a GTI became very narrow between it and a top end sort of, you know, GTD and GTI were near the same price, so people bought them. But I think at this stage, unless we have an ID3 GTI, you know what I mean, the electric GTI, I think that's where the future is. I think I'd still just buy a Seat Leon. If I'm honest, I'd buy a Seat Leon. The new one is deadly, absolutely deadly car. You'd be mad. I'd be honest with you. You'd be mad to go looking at Volkswagen Golf when you see the Seat Leon FR or the Cupra or just the standard one. They're an amazing looking yoke. Gareth Talbot, thank you very much. Gareth Talbot has donated by PayPal. You're very kind. Did I miss anybody else? Because I've been really busy. I better look in case I miss somebody. Patrick Sullivan sent me a message. I can't read that. I don't have my glasses, Patrick. Can you make it bigger? He's asking a question. He asked a question on Patreon, which I will get to. I will answer that. That's on Patreon. It's alright. You can go over to Patreon and subscribe if you wish. It's okay. We do have some sponsors incoming, I think, in negotiation. If they can get you a good discount, that's what I'm after. Good discount. I've got a really good one coming up, which I hope is going to be a really good, long-term, decent sponsor. Not necessarily just Sunday service, just for all the videos. But I want to get a discount for the users of the Sunday service and for the users of Patreon and memberships for that thing, because I think it's something you'll actually use. Jar Naviki, I think it was, is what he said. That's it. I think it was. Right. I don't know what that's in relation to, but it's okay. Dylan Bell, would you consider doing used car reviews? The problem with used car reviews, yes, I've done them, multiple ones. The problem is I have to arrange insurance for them every single time. And testing a used car is just testing that single model of the car. So that might have been treated incredibly well, and it's a lovely little thing. I've done a few. I've done a Merc there recently. I've done a Twizy as well. I've done a few ones and user reviews and stuff. So I've done those, but only if I can arrange the insurance to cover it for the day, and that it's all handy and nice. And a lot of like classic car owners, they don't want anyone else driving their car, so they don't tend to favour this at all. But I would certainly do used car reviews if you have the money. I have the ability, because we have to cover insurance, we have to cover the day's trips. There's all kinds of crap has to go into as well. So if you want to get your car review, you can get in touch with me if you want. We've done it before. John, reliable car. Oh, wait, no, I missed one there. No, I didn't. Reliable car that you should be able to get for €1,500 is an Astra H 1.4, and only just replaced the clutch at 102,000 miles, 102,000 miles, and EGR valve, rocker cover gasket, and EGR valve, one set of disc and pads in 10 years. I've had a set lay on 15 years and did none of that. We did the back brake caliper and changed the front brake pads twice, and tires. Never did the EGR. I think we did the service light. Come on, I can't remember if I did I don't know. I do so many of these little service things over the years. I forget whether it was my car or somebody else's car. I think we've done a few little bits, and not much though. Really, if you treat a car well, it tends to treat you well back. But yes, Astra's not a bad car actually. It's still the best car that Opel make, apart from the new Corsa, which is really good. I think it's really good. I think it will be. I'm testing the electric version of the Corsa. For some reason, Opel has me at the very bottom of the list to test cars. I don't know why. I don't know what it did on Opel, but maybe we'll see. I seem to be way behind everybody else on getting a go at their press cars, and yet was able to get the Peugeot. I mean, it's all run in one office. I got the Peugeot ages before everybody else, so it seems weird. Alan Burke said 15 to 20 grand for at least a decent camper van. You'd get a camper van for that for sure, but that same camper van for 15 grand would have been 10 grand 2 years ago. It's just right now, because of staycation, again I hate that word, but because of this having a holiday in Ireland, a home holiday, a lot of people are looking for ways around it. So camper vans and caravans have gone up in price quite a lot, because everybody's looking for that hotel experience in a camper van. So the good camper vans have gone up in price quite a bit. So something that was 10 grand a couple of years ago is 15 grand now. It hasn't gone down. But then camper vans have always been quite expensive because they're very useful. I'd just buy the biggest joke. I just blot the sun out from out the front of the house. But that's me. I like camper vans, and the kids like, what? Look, delivery. My wife fresh out of the shower. That'll get you thinking. Delivery of coffee. Look at our Orla Kylie cups. We got Orla Kylie. My wife's fascinated by that design. They're not expensive. They're just nice. Anyway. Cross 13 says, just had a look at a neighbour's Kuga PHEV last weekend. They don't have their charge point in yet, and we're charging at the railway station until recall notice. Yeah, scary, isn't it? The scariest part of an electric car, or any car fire, but particularly electric car fire, is because if it goes on fire outside your door, it's disabled. Like, you can't drive it away from your house. And some people have them in garages and stuff. And I know this is really rare for these cars going on fire, but it does raise your thoughts of how scary it could be if your car went on fire outside your house, that it would literally go on fire in front of your house, or even inside your house in a carport or a garage or something. So it's kind of scary. I'd rather it went on fire outside of a railway station if it was going to go on fire. Alan Burke, YouTube channel Exploring Alternatives is very good for seeing how people live in camper vans and boats. I am a subscriber there. It's pretty good actually. There's a few places, if you do a Google search for tiny homes, you'll find loads of channels out there. I look at a lot of sailing channels. I like sailing channels. They give you an idea of what it's like in a tiny home. Essentially their home is a camper van on the sea. That's essentially what a sailboat is. But yeah, Exploring Alternatives is actually a very good channel. I like that. What's the other one I subscribe to that I can't remember the name of now? Used to be a girl's name that changed it. He went off, started sailing ships, Sailing SV Aravahandud or something it was called. Anyway, that was a good channel as well. They look at camper vans and people converting houses and homes, and there's a couple of really good ones where guys have done like what a Mercedes Unimog is, right? So they've put a box on the back of that and essentially made a new camper van from that, and it's like pure off-road stuff. It's deadly things. He's answering his questions. Gone to question. John says, "Gone." This is different, John, is it? Gone are the days of 20 viewers hitting 232T. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. We used to, when it started once upon a time, I used to be talking to myself and like 3 other people, and we had a bit of a laugh. I even played guitar and everything on the Sunday Stars at one point. It was some Christmas or something. We used to play top trumps to entertain ourselves. That's when it was kind of small. But now, like, there's nearly 3,000 people have watched today. Just today. Right now, there's 262 of you here. It's humbling, weird, and amazing, because I didn't advertise today at all. Set it up last night, got so many tweets yesterday and emails, and Byron tweeted me yesterday as well, will you come back so you can have a rant about this stuff, you know? So it's funny to see it come back, and I do try and be reflective of you, of the mood, the consumer sentiment, as we call it. I try to be reflective of that, so try to give you an idea of what it's like. I do advise you, if you're a Twitter user or a Facebook user, I advise you to be very careful at the moment. Twitter and Facebook has become a cancel zone, particularly Twitter. You know, something happens in the world and Twitter users just erupt. This is terrible. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. It's disgraceful behaviour, and it's like this echo chamber goes round of nonsense, you know. Same as like that pub that opened yesterday and let people go wild, and there's one video and no one has any context, and everybody just goes, they should lose their license, close it down forever. It's just this craziness. So be very careful on those social media channels out there. Stay here with me where it's safe, and you can all say whatever you want to say, and nobody can cancel you at all, because I can't cancel you for sure, and I don't think I can be cancelled. I'm too important. Do you know who I am? Andy McAfee says insurance companies have a note on the system with a list of influencers not to mess with for fear of social media backlash. Do you know the Department of Justice in Ireland has been monitoring social media, people who give out about the detention centres, as I'm going to say again. I can't remember the bloody name of them now. The centres where they're keeping the refugees. If you're negatively tweeting about them, you go on a list that they keep, and you're in a filing cabinet on the list. And they produce a report every day. It's on Twitter. You can see it. It's freedom of information. Ken Fox is a guy I follow very carefully on Twitter. He is freedom information king out there, and he submits requests, FOI requests, all of the time, which is hugely time consuming, lads. And they can turn you down. Just go, no, you can't have that. That's it. But Ken Fox is worth a follow on Twitter. Definitely go over there, check it out. He tweets all the time about what answers he gets from freedom of information requests, and he's a maestro on that keyboard. He really does do a huge amount of work, and without him we would know an awful lot less. But anyway, the Department of Justice keeping lists of you people who are not being nice about their response to refugees. Anyway, I think them should be just closed. Either send them home or give them citizenship. Let's just be straight, right? Give them a working visa and let them rent a house or something, or, you know, build them something, or give them residency, permanent residency, where they can be safe and they can have their family and they can grow up and they can do their thing here in this country, or tell them to go home. There's no point in keeping someone here for 10 years. Give them a couple of pound a week and put them in an ex-crap hotel in the countryside, like the Montague Hotel there in Monstreven, or near Monstreven, and the Hazel Hotel in Monstreven, are both refugee centres. Like, they're direct provision is what it's really called. But that's just a fancy way of saying a refugee centre. I see them walking up and down in their sandals and flip-flops to the shop up the road. Like the hotel up the road. It's crazy. It's insane when you start thinking about what we do. How we just hide them away in the countryside. Like, get them a home. Why not give them somewhere to live that's in a town where they can be productive and get a job or start a business or whatever they want to do? Why not give them the tools to let them do it instead of keeping them in this constant sort of, will they send me home? Will they renew my visa? This stuff's going on. And then Larry Goodman in there puts them into work into a meat packing plant, and they all get COVID-19. Great, isn't it? Kay Hewitt. Kay Hewitt, sorry, I pronounced that wrong. Loved your review of the new Seat Leon. They're definitely the Spanish Alfa Romeo territory now, in my humble opinion. It's not a humble opinion, it's your opinion. Yes, you're right. They're getting there. if they shouldn't have, I don't think they should have branched the Cupra thing out on its own. I don't think they should have done that. I think it was much cooler when there was a Seat Leon FR, and then a Seat Leon Cupra. That was cool. Now there's a Cupra, which is a Seat Leon, but you're not allowed to call it Seat Leon. It's Cupra. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, so it's like the branding for the sake of branding. You know, it's like an exercise in branding without really wondering what the branding's all about. So anyway, it's good. But Seat are doing great things. I really do like what Seat's at the moment. I think it'll be very good. I love the L-Born. We had great plans to do a great big review of the L-Born when it comes out. So hopefully that will work out. But I don't know, with the pandemic, right? Who knows? Nomi Castro says, anyone gone back from PHEV to ICE and missing the EV drive? Does the novelty wear off eventually, as it's never back to pure ICE again? Just test drove the Mercedes-Benz 250E and 330E and like the EV drive on both. You don't. No one ever goes back. I don't think anyone, unless you bought the wrong car, right? So people do buy the wrong car quite a lot. They buy a car and they're doing 70,000 kilometers a year and they go, well, you know, I could get a PHEV and that'd be great. And it's crap. Like, for long driving, PHEVs are rubbish. And when you plug them in, like, the problem with plugging them in is you plug them in now and you plug them in again tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that and the day after that. Just, you know, it's stupid. The most expensive EV I've ever had outside the door, according to my EV box, which was put in by Mulher Electric, the most expensive electric car I've driven has been a Passat PHEV, because I had to charge it every day. The cheapest car I've driven so far, overall, was probably the Kia e-Niro. No, the e-Soul. Kia e-Soul. We had that here. We barely charged it at all. We had a Tesla Model 3 recently, but we did a lot of miles. I did 500 and nearly 600 kilometers in that Model 3. So we did actually charge that a couple of times here at home, from near empty to near full. And we charged at 2 superchargers. One in Limerick. I tweeted about that. My experience in Limerick was shit. We did tweet about that because it was very, very busy down there in fairness. But it cost me 10 quid actually to charge at that time. It tells you on the screen how much to charge you. But it was very quick. 35 minutes from 30% full to 80% full. Charged at 111 kilowatt hours, or 111 kilowatts, whatever the speed of charging was 111 kilowatts. Calanuts, I noticed that the business model of Tesla is not to sell cars rather than software packages. You buy the car very cheap in the future and activate it on cost package such as autopilot and acceleration. I don't know if that's the business model. It's one business model, and all the car companies are doing this, boys. I'm warning you now that every single car company is going to be doing these kind of leased features that you can turn on and off, because a lot of the hardware is installed in your car. Like active cruise control is often not installed in the car physically. There's a plate on the front of the car. You can see it on some cars. You see a hole where that plate should be next time. But what they're doing is active cruise control is actually a kind of a software package. If the radar system is installed, Tesla install everything, and have more or less always done it. They've always installed pretty much everything in the car and then just turn stuff on and off. In their early models, they just give you everything. You bought one Model S, here's the price, good luck to you. But now autopilot, I'll be honest with you, is not something I'd bother with. €7,500 or something of an option it is in a Model 3. Like, it ain't cheap. It's an investment on its own. You could buy a second-hand car for the price of the bloody autopilot, right? The standard cruise control is fine. I'm not sure Ireland can't even make a bloody law to cover a scooter on the road. Forget about letting go of the steering wheel and driving along like you do in America. I saw a TikTok the other day of a woman doing her makeup in a mirror, with the mirror pulled, not just the mirror from the car, but a mirror put up in the front dashboard of the car, a proper big mirror. And she's doing her makeup, hovering along the motorway at 80 miles an hour in a Model 3. And your man's laughing because, like, oh, look, the future of driving. And I'm going, my God, if anything, even the remotest little small thing happens on the road, she's dead or will kill someone around her. That's all that's going to happen. So I would save your money. I would save your $7,500. I would buy a Model 3 for sure, definitely, but I wouldn't bother with the active cruise control thing. I'd just get standard cruise control, the cheapest one, the long range version. I wouldn't even bother with the fast version. I had the fast one here, the really quick one. It is startlingly scarily quick, eerily quick. You're going 0 and then your face is going and you're hovering along the road. It's brilliant, but I wouldn't bother with it. I just buy the long range one, leave it at that. DS says, hi Bob, how's the form? Great. I noticed that you posted a shot of the Model 3 performance on your channel. Here we are talking about. Have you detailed video in the mix? Yes, I have. It will be out very soon, probably next week or the week after. I've quite a backlog of videos to get through, but I will get through them all. There's actually loads of videos already filmed, and I have the BMW 840i outside the door right now this very minute. Quite a lot. How come the concurrent viewers has gone to 0? What's after happening there? Everybody's running. It's all okay. Yes, it is all okay. Just YouTube having a fit there, I think. Just check down the bottom. I think everyone's still attached. Loving the Sunday service. Ransom, no mention. Yeah, all right, we're okay. Yeah. Everybody's still going. Just YouTube suddenly went to concurrent viewers of 0. Let me find out where I was now. No, she's back up again. We're all right. We still have 300 people watching. That's weird. Thanks, YouTube, for scaring the crap out of me. Loved review said, got one. Yeah, I got that. There we are. We're coming up on it. All right, yeah. Calanut says, maybe this is a future, less hardware, more software. Yeah, it is. They'll just install everything in your car, hardware-wise, and then they'll charge you rent. BMW America charge you leasing money to use Apple CarPlay and other services. That will come in here too, I bet you. Any money. The BMW 840i I have outside the door has wireless Apple CarPlay, and it's quite finicky, still very finicky. I still find that sometimes it connects, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it wants to, sometimes it sees it on the list. You have to go into other menus to find it again. When it works, it's okay, but generally speaking, it's a bit weird and can be difficult to use. But they want to charge rent on Apple CarPlay because Apple CarPlay costs them money. So does Android Auto. You have to pay a license fee every year, so they want to make money out of it, and they know car companies are aware they're not going to make money out of car sales in the future, so they want to make money out of little billing things. Eric Watchard says, struggling to get on here today due to power cut. Agree with Bob on phoning the insurance companies. Widely different quotes versus online. Worth taking a few hours out to do it, and as you will save, you will. I promise you, I saved at least 400 quid over the difference between looking at a online price guide and phoning them. And it was 400 euro in the difference, so it's quite a difference in price. And often those are the prices that are quoted when people say, I can't get insurance, it's cost me 1,500 quid. If you just phone them up, it'd be 900. You know, it's just the way life is at the moment. You kind of got to work to get things done in old-fashioned sense. Because talking to someone on the phone, you know, they'll tell you what they know. They're there. It's their job. They do it all the time. They know how to make the numbers make sense. When they say has anything changed, you go, yeah, well, I park it in a garage. You know, I'm a homemaker. You know, whatever it is that makes the insurance cheaper, just make it cheaper. It's okay. Andy FX7. In New Zealand, Bob, there was much siphoning of fuel due to their system. Yes, there was. But in New Zealand, you get shot for doing that because New Zealand, statistically, is the most armed country on earth. Now, just thought I'd tell you that one. They all own guns. Many guns. I was in many people's New Zealand house, and normally they show you their gun cabinet first. They're very manly men, which is great. They're brilliant. They're like the Wild West when I was there. Missing a finger by chopping it off with a circular saw was a normal thing to do. Everybody's missing a finger over there. They're all the men shaking, missing, going, well, you're missing your fingers. Chopped it off. But they're very manly. But over there, siphoning fuel will result in your death, or at least your maiming at some point. And if you survive that, they'll probably shoot you again. So it does happen from time to time, but it balances out in the end. Most of the time you can't get at most of the cars out there, and they are pretty secretive people in that respect. They look after one another, you know, tidy Kiwis and all. They're just lovely people, so you don't see much of that. But it does result, of course it will. It results in siphoning of fuel here, all right, as well. But it's quite hard to get into the old fuel systems these days. Try siphoning some electricity out of a battery. Barry Hughes, has anyone heard of Tesla looking features on used cars that were purchased on the original sale and then charging to reactivate them in the future? No, I think that was a mistake, Barry. As far as I'm aware, that did happen to a man who bought a used Model X, and when he registered as the new owner, the autopilot feature was disabled. But I think that was because it was disabled by the old owner as well. It was never there in the first place. They explained it somehow. As far as I'm aware, once you've paid, if it's different if you're leasing it, but once you've paid for the system to go onto the car, it stays on the car for the life of the car, no matter who the brand is. You don't sign it for 2 or 3 years around. John, I have 1 year accident points free NCB in the UK, and I've gone from £900 first year insurance to £540 second year. I can't complain. Yeah, the drop can be considerable when you go to first year and the second year and the third year. After the third year, essentially you're on the same insurance forever then. I reckon I'm paying probably around the same insurance I'm paying now as I paid maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And I was going into 8 or 9 years ago with a good 10 years not 10 bonus anyway. I don't think I've not since, God, it must be way back in the 90s since the last time I had anyone claim against me, and I reversed into the side of a car in the middle of the night, rainy, lashing rain in a car park, and reversed backwards and rubbed up against the car, and that was a claim on insurance. I think that was the last time, and I reckon that was 98. That's as far back as you can go. Mick Lauder says, on car insurance, it was very telling that we got €30 refunded not driving for a few months. Yeah, it was. Yeah, they could have done a lot better than that, in fairness. €30 was like... Do you know what? They sent me a check. A check. I can't remember the last time I got a check for anything. But they sent me a check. I nearly wanted to frame the check and put it up in the wall. But anyway, I threw it in the bank account. But £30, I know, that's all we got back out of the insurance companies after all of the years and years and years and years of paying money to them every single year. And we're locked down, and all I can do is £30. Gareth, I would have sooner the insurance companies got together and gave €30 per customer into a charity fund and funded the Dublin Simon community, or a homeless community or something like that for a year. Why not? Why wouldn't that? What's £30 to any of us? Like, £30 is going to be gone one afternoon. 3 bottles of wine is £30. 4 bottles of wine is £30. It's in the grand scheme of things, it might save your ass at some point, but realistically they could have done a lot more with that £30 and just hand it back to you. Anyway, Annie McAfee. No, wait, no, I missed one there. Gareth Hickey, Bob, the NCT should run the same as the DOE system, which is certified mechanics can do the test, same as the MOT system in the UK. We should start a petition. Yes, I think we should. It would be brilliant if that was the case, actually, to be honest with you, because it being run by Applies Plus doesn't make any sense. It could easily be done by all the DOE systems already out there. It's there. They're professionals. They got it done. They know how to fix it. And DOE can be done in a different way. You can actually go to a registered garage. They go, listen, this isn't right. This isn't right. We'll fix it, and here's the price. And you can get it all done in the one day, rather than this NCT thing of little old ladies coming up and going, oh, my little car, and it goes off and it's broke, and you come back out and that's broke. Good luck. And that's it. You're on your own. It's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, yeah. I'd love to see something like that here in Ireland. Annie McPhee says, for the MOTs in Northern Ireland, you enter the testing hall in driver's seat until the first stage, then move to the passenger seat and remain in the vehicle for the next parts until the vehicle goes into the lift, and then you sit at the side of the hall. That's amazing. Why not? Why can't we have that here? Why isn't that here? I want to see what that person is doing to my car. And I want him to think, the owner sitting beside me, if I rev the balls off this car now, he's going to punch me between the 2 eyes. I want him to think like that. That'd be good. HL says, what do you think about Dacia? Kind of cars from Croatia. I was in lovely Croatia, I think last year. Beautiful, beautiful place. God almighty, what a country of mountains, like rock. Just, how do you even live there? It's just made of rock. Everything I saw, and it was beautiful, beautiful country. God, it was beautiful. I was trotting. I did a run off down a beach. I met up with lovely builder guys down the other end, and 2 of them had been in Dublin for a number of years working, and come back to Croatia to work there as well. Ended up chatting to them for ages, surrounded by cats. Gorgeous place. Had a lovely time. I'd love to go back. I really would. I'd like to go back and see bits of it again. It was a startlingly gorgeous country. But Dacia, yes, if you're coming from an older car, if you're coming from a car 6, 7, 8 years old, and you move into a brand new Dacia, you're going to feel how good the Dacia brand is. It's cheap, and I don't mean cheap in the way it's built. It's affordable. You get everything you pay for. To be honest with you, if I was looking to change a car into a brand new car today, I would probably buy something really, like, they're not great to drive or anything, but like a Dacia Sandero is, or even a Stepway, which is like an estate Sandero. Is that the estate one? The estate Sandero. Like, you're getting a big car with 4 or 5 seats in it that you don't mind dinking against jokes, or throwing a dog into the boot or something. You just don't care, because it's a workhorse. It's designed to work and be a workhorse, and it's got air conditioning, it's got a stereo, it's got USB ports. A lot of them have Apple CarPlay these days because it comes in the stereo. None of it's made by Dacia. You know, it's all bought in bits. So like things have Sony written on them and stuff. It's cool. They're cool in their own way. And I think buying one, like if you're going to be working, and I know Croatia roads is that or that. That's it. You might as well buy something that's quite comfortable, and Dacias are okay. I don't have a problem with Dacia. It's a good little brand. They don't seem to get any complaints from anybody. I never get emails from users of Dacia going, this car's crap, it's broke down every 5 minutes. I never get that. I get that nearly about every other brand, but not Dacia. Loads of people talking amongst themselves. That's brilliant. See, I love the little community here. It's fabulous. We are 1 hour and 40 minutes. My God, there's only 20 minutes left of this. 20 minutes left of this, and then you can stop being punished by us. I know. It'd be brilliant. Clover Video says, hi Bob, I drive a Kia Sorento, that's a good car, and the rear wheel arches are very prone to rust. Okay, what year is it? Can I spray something on to prevent it from appearing? Well, you see, rust is water. Essentially, rust is when water gets under the paintwork and comes in contact with the metal and begins to rust through. It's the metal it's rusting, but it's coming up through the paintwork. So behind your paintwork is the problem. Now, it's a bit of a task, but it's certainly something you could do for yourself without a shadow of a doubt. You can go to a motor factor, right, and you bring the car with you. They can do a paint sample and they will create a spray can of the exact match paint that you got on your car, right? That's the first step. You're going to need a tin of primer, which comes in a grey tin. That's easy. You're going to need a little bit of sandpaper. So you're going to get a P1000 sandpaper, a P1500 sandpaper, and a P2000 sandpaper. You can go heavy if you want. So then you're going to take your car home. You're going to bring it in out of the way and you're going to wash it. And when I say wash it, you're going to wash it till it's absolutely spotlessly clean. The area you're going to spray. Then you're going to get some newspaper and some masking tape. This is all very cheap stuff. You're going to mask off the area around the wheel arch and the tyre and the bit in the back, the wheel arch itself, and just leave the other bit out. Sorry, you sand it before you mask it. Sand it all up. Sand down the paintwork so the paint disappears. You're down to metal. Sand down all of the rusty bit. If there's any holes there, you need a little tub of filler. Filler's very cheap. Filler's so cheap, it's like £2 for a tin of filler. Just buy a little small one. Fill over the top of that, sand that down. Sand it down again. Make sure you sand it down. Keep getting lighter and lighter on the sandpaper. Start heavy, go to light. Once that's done, mask the whole lot up. Put a bit of primer on. Very slow, you're not in a hurry. Don't be rushing this. Long streaks. And then you take a tin of spray when that dries off and spray over the top of that. Take your masking tape off. You'll never have rust again. It's really easy. But it does. Watch a couple of YouTube videos on how to respray your car. It really is that straightforward. You can do an amazing job of spraying stuff. And it's all like that'll be done for less than 50 quid. Maybe 60 quid. The tin of primer can be quite, well, not terribly expensive, but buy good primer. Primer's king, by the way. The colour is just a colour. The primer is everything. You might need to spray a lacquer as well, which gives you the big shiny bit. But often the paints these days come shiny enough, so you won't even need that. Anyway, McPhee, big battery pack for the house would be class. Solar trickle all the time. Smart tech to learn average demand use. And night meter top up will be what will it lack, especially in the darker winter. The problem is really getting enough sunlight in Ireland. Particularly like further north you get, the less sunlight there is anyway, but once you get to this point of the year, the sunlight starts to disappear off and it's not going to be there all day, and this kind of dull cloudy daylight isn't very efficient at using solar panels. So you need a lot of solar panels to do this job. A hell of a lot of them. This could end up being so many solar panels, it's just not going to work. But if you could work it out that you could charge that battery, trickle charge that battery all the time. If you didn't have an electric car, you'd have less of a draw on that battery the whole time. But even if you had an electric car, you could have it so when the battery is full on the electric car, it actually returns some to the battery of the house and all. It's very clever tech. Like, there's so many things we could be doing to make life a little easier, and the price will go down. It'll go down as more and more of these batteries become available for us to buy as cars or as ex-car batteries. Right now the market's so small, there isn't that many electric cars in the market anyway, and the batteries are quite small. Like the first generation Leaf has a 35 kilowatt battery, so it's very small, so you don't want that anyway, right? I think I've read everybody out. Don't forget to support the channel if you can, please. Be brilliant. I know I forget to mention these things all the time, but there is a list of links down below. Subscribe is the free way. Costs you nothing to subscribe to the channel. It costs me nothing for you to subscribe to the channel, so everybody is benefiting. If you click the little bell icon beside the subscribe button, you'll get a notification when we go live, like today. You know, a little notification will appear out for you. But if you actually want to support the channel in a monetary way, there is a list of links for PayPal, Patreon, and you can join the channel memberships here on YouTube if you want. Any one of those ways to support is always good. A little tip jar is what it's basically like. If you're entertained by this 2 hours of chat, of which 3,000 of you have watched now, you could help by making sure that you support a battery. A battery. I just read battery. Look at that. I'm like Ron Burgundy. I literally looked at the word battery and said you could support by a big battery. That's not battery. You could support the channel which you're supported by clicking the subscribe button or doing your stuff underneath at some point. It's always fun. Mini eggs. Do you ever get close to 100 odd MOG in a PHEV suburb? No. No. Yeah, going downhill on the road down from Wicklow downwards. Basically, we use no fuel because you just stay on the brakes. But no, driving along under normal circumstances, when the battery's fully charged, of course it's going to run on the battery, and then it'll try to run on a mix as a hybrid. But essentially, you're never going to get this. I don't think you'll ever get that 100 kilometers per gallon or whatever it was that they came up with, 1.1 litres per 100 kilometers or something. I very much doubt it. Dominic Gavin. Bob, when you have a service at the SEAT, do you get sent a small video of the underneath of your car engine and pointed out any work required in any area which is good to touch? You see, the SEAT I get it serviced as cheap as I possibly can because it's 15 years old. So I either service it myself or I call in a favour from a mate of mine and I bring the parts and stuff and he does it. But so essentially no, but yes, you can. When you buy a new car these days, you can do a video link directly with the dealer and he will show you what needs to be done. So you just, instead of this, they're trying to dismiss this idea that, you know, dealer stealer, this thing that, you know, you go in to get a service and suddenly you need 4 tyres and a brand new exhaust system and you go, well, it didn't need that when I got here. So what they're doing is showing you while it's up and around to show you a video of what is up with your car and what needs to be done. Some of them are advisories. Some of them are going, well, listen, the next time you're going to get service, you need to have a bushing done on that wheel, or you need to have an exhaust system put in, or whatever. Other ones are like, this is actually broken and you need to get it fixed. A lot of people never open the bonnet, lads, these days. A lot of people, I would say the vast majority of people who buy new cars now never actually look under the bonnet. A light comes on the dashboard, they go to a dealership and that's dealt with, and it gets fixed and then it comes back and then they don't think about it again. So that's kind of it. Robert Doyle says, came across a brand new car guy on YouTube called Deck of Cars. I've seen him before. Has a few vids, taxes in Ireland and VRT. He made a review of the new Ford Kuga PHEV. Very good video. I highly recommend him. I don't know him at all, but I think I've seen that name somewhere before. Andy McPhee, people coming to check meters in part to inspect the foul play, but with bypass links and other tampering, etc. That was the old ones. You can't tamper with these new ones. I had a good look at it the other day. It's tiny. And it's just a box with an electronic readout on it. See, like, I lived through the 70s and 80s. I know every trick there is to make and save money on electric meters. I lived in houses where you put £1 in for an hour's electricity, and I figured out how to open the padlock so I could take £1 out and just continually put the £1 through so I could get hours and hours of free electricity for £1. My next door neighbour, he owned his house, so the first thing he did, and this is something you don't ever try this, but you can try it if you want to. It's up to you. Take it your own word. What you do is drill a very, very tiny hole in the side of the electric meter, and it meets up with that little wheel that goes around, and you put a matchstick in and stop the wheel. You still get electricity, but the thing doesn't clock up. That was another thing we did in the 80s quite regularly. Another one was, I moved into a flat, we took a meter reading, and I got out, I had an old speaker. I bought an old speaker at a car boot sale, and it wasn't working. So I took it apart, and in the back of an old speaker was a gargantuan magnet, a real big one. And the first thing I did on day one, after he took the meter reading, I went, yeah, fine, meter reading, was I stuck the magnet to the side of the meter, and that stopped that wheel turning. Which eventually gives you free electricity again. So I knew all the ways, but this modern one, this new one, is an electronic readout, which is just just ticking over, just like a normal meter goes over. It's just electronics inside. So I don't think you can do a whole lot with it other than connect a computer to it and so on and set it up yourself, or it has no wired or wireless ways of talking to anything out there. So it seems to work. Robert Doyle is looking for me to shout out somebody else. I don't shout out people until I've seen them, because there's no point in shouting people out and then I find out they're crap or lunatics or they're doing donuts around it. You can't shout out people like that. I need to go and see who people are. What cars are on test over the next week or so? That's Footy Ferrari. Always gets curious about this time of the Sunday service. I'm picking up a 3 Series PHEV tomorrow. I also have the Volvo S60 on test. Then I might be taking a week off, but I think I have the BMW X6 for a while. Mercedes-Benz GLA, Opel Corsa E is coming up as well. Mini convertible. Audi RS7 I will have later on in the year. And PHEV Peugeot 3008, Opel Grandland, say it's something or other. I might be we're kind of planning a sort of international trip, but it all very much depends on the lockdown being lifted. Be an international, I have to go and see an electric car in a country, but I'm not sure I'll be able to go. We'll see what happens. I don't deep TT travel. I don't know what HLO means. Is that hello in a different language? I'm only guessing here. John says, thanks for your response on above questions. I never wanted an electric car until I saw the Honda E. Will you be reviewing it? It reminds me of the early Civics. Honda Ireland seem to have just gone dead, like quiet. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their future is and what's going to happen next, because Honda's in trouble all the time. Honda E, to me, is the cutest thing. And I sat in the Geneva Motor Show and all. I was in it, or Frankfurt Motor Show, or whatever motor show it was. I was in it. I walked about. I had a look at everything. Very interesting car. I would suggest that the Mazda MX-30 is going to be a much more exciting thing than the Honda. I know looks wise they're very different, but I think Mazda is going to do something very clever with that battery. And I've interviewed the designer right here on the channel. It's available on the channel as well. You can watch that. I think it's much more interesting to see what they're about than to see what the Honda E is about. I think Honda needs to do a lot of work under PR, under pricing, on what they're doing, the range of the car. There's just so many things that just isn't what they should be doing. It's not what Honda's good at. Honda needs to be clever, they need to be smart about what they're doing. Anyway, it's just, I think it's very small, very city centric, very small little kind of retirement car. Just removing COD from oven, or cod from oven, as you got the post going in. Is it nice? Is it good cod? How much? What's it like? Is it real cod, or is it just breaded cod you bought in Tesco's? Clover Video says, hi Bob, what is the best SUV in terms of ride quality? I don't want to buy a car with a smoother suspension as an option. Can you suggest something you've driven? Thanks. If you're talking about big SUV, the Skoda, what's the big one called? Kodiaq is the nicest SUV ride wise, and is very comfortable, feels luxurious, even though it's a Skoda, or Skoda I should be saying, not Skoda. Very, very nice car, very smooth. If you want to go further up the range, then the Land Rover, the Defender, smooth like nothing else, like water speed bumps. Actually, the best ride quality I have ever driven over a speed bump was the Ford Ranger Raptor. Fox suspension. They make the Fox suspension system in that, and it rides like nothing else. You see big speed bump in front of you. When you drive over it, nothing happens. It's like it wasn't there. It just happens. It's brilliant. I went over a notorious speed bump here in Portlaoise at 85 kilometers an hour and didn't even notice it was there. Neil Bissett says, hi Bob, don't know if you've tested the new Ford Puma. I have internationally, didn't test it here in Ireland yet. I really like the look of it, but I don't know if a test drive, it's very good. I have to see the Irish spec, but what I found was there is some really good features in it. I love there's a thing in the boot, I can't think of what to call it now, but there's a compartment in the boot, and it's waterproof, so you can dump in crappy boots into it and stuff, but it's got a hole in the bottom, a drain hole, so you can just hose it out. It's genius. Why isn't that in every car? This hosable out thing is really good. Rode very well, very nice car. It's unfortunately called a Puma, which means that you look at the other Puma and go, it's nothing like the old Puma. Why did it do that? They should have called it the Ford, I don't know, Cloud or something, something else, not Puma. A really good car, but I haven't driven it in Ireland yet. I do have it listed somewhere, but the problem is the lockdown put a lot of the cars that I would have driven early in the year into the second half of the year, and they're now on sale. So they're being sold by the dealership. So some of the cars I don't really want to drive because it would be pointless to make a review of it now. All the sales are done on it. Like, it's not going, no one's going to watch it. That's my problem. And I think that might happen with the Puma. Cross 13 says, for a Tesla Model S battery, you split the pack into modules. There are several options for third-party battery management systems designed for home use, unlikely to be financially viable though. A pre-built home battery with bi-directional inverter is usually a cheaper option, pretty plug and play, and comes with a warranty or powering your home off the grid. It's much more difficult in Ireland due to the limited sunlight for 3 months of the winter. Doable, but you need to be massively oversize the system. Easy enough to cover 9 months of the year. Those last 3 months you need to do more than double the size of the system. The Sandyford Tesla service guys are getting an old Model S converted to hold all their gear. Supposed to be due any day now. So now there's that. They're converting your house to run on a battery. I think it would make an interesting series. I'm fascinated by the little apps and things that come for cars, and you know, like you get into a Zoe and it lacks graphs or anything. It just has a leaf that gets bigger and smaller on the side, or the little kind of glowy thing that tells you how efficient you're being. But what I really want is an app that when I get out of the car, it downloads my last drive and adds it to a graph of drives. And I want something that kind of gives me all of that information. Like, I'm fascinated by, even right now, I'm looking at a screen here in front of me, which is the YouTube thing, and it's giving me this graph of how many people are watching now, how many people have watched it, and how long they're staying. And it's just fascinating stuff to watch that stuff. So electric cars lend themselves very well to that. So I can't see why we couldn't do that in some way in a house as well, to see how efficient solar panels are. Is there a way that we can improve it? Can we put a little fan in? I know some of those wind turbine things are quite noisy. Small ones, I mean home ones, can be quite noisy. But still, I think it'd be fascinating to see if we can make a house run 12 months of the year off grid, or as off grid as possible. Can we bring a bill per year from $3,000 for electricity down to 100 quid? You know what I mean? It'd be brilliant. Brian Lilly says, I've seen Eamon Ryan driving a 9-seater in Leinster House on multiple occasions, usually on rainy days. Yeah, he does own a 9-seater Caravelle, I think. A 2.5 litre diesel one. He claims to cycle into work quite often. I wouldn't debate, like, having an old car is not a sin. Like, you know, old cars, they've done their CO2 emissions. They don't do many miles and often are in use. But I find that his lack of movement on looking at future future transport options, electric scooters, electric bikes, what are the laws around? Do we need to have... See, why they won't bring in a law around electric bikes and electric scooters about helmets is because then what happens to Dublin bikes? One of the most successful bike hiring things on earth is these city bike stuff that are around, and you find them in every city as well. If you say you have to have a helmet for a scooter, then you have to have a helmet on a bike, then you have to have a helmet for Dublin bikes, which would kill the rental options, because who carries a helmet with them everywhere, right? And then you have other very successful things, like you go down to Portugal or Spain and you find Lyft or Leaf or whatever those scooters are you can rent all over the place. They're everywhere. I've done it myself, rented them on international trips, went off in around cities on electric scooters. They're brilliant, but you do also find them in rivers as well. So that doesn't help. But like, we could have that. We could have the laws around these things for personal use without having a rental system. Clover Video says, hi Bob. Again, Clover Video, you must be looking for a shout out to you. What do you think about the Skoda Scala, which is engine would you recommend, the TSI or diesel? A bit of power. It depends what you want from it. If you want power, you're going to have to go diesel. TSI won't tow things. They do, but it's just so inefficient. It's just not good at it. You know, it has to work so hard to pull it forward. But a Scala is quite a small car, and I would go with a small petrol engine for daily use. It works fine. Even in an automatic, it works fine. But if you really want power, you want to overtake things, then you're going to have to go diesel, because they have turbos, which is much nicer. Fred Bear said M, just the letter M. That's it. Did you mean to do that? Or is M like something on your keyboard that pauses or whatever? Dylan Bell, you should do a video on a top 10 cars for young people and first drivers. Suppose I could. Depends on the budget, doesn't it? Yeah, it really depends. But I know a few places have tried to do things that would relate to younger drivers, and it all fails miserably because younger drivers buy the cheapest piece of crap they can find. Um, the Butcher IRL has landed. Says, welcome back, Bob. Have narrowed down a 7-seater to a Ford S-Max 2013-2015. As we have a 15 car, I don't want to go much older, but very hard to find on what the NOx emissions are for the S-Max or any older cars, because they hide them. They don't want you to import a car from the UK, but they tell you there's going to be a NOx charge, but they don't tell you how much that is until you bought the bloody car, because Ireland, instead of opening the doors and going, this is how much you're going to be charged for everything, they hide everything. And so when they hide it, they can be a little bit shady about the whole deal, don't tell you everything, and then they punish you when you try and do something right. If we properly competed with the UK, we wouldn't need to hide it. There now, sorry dealerships, I know that's probably going to torpedo everybody out there now, going, no, don't be done with the UK. But I'm telling you, we should be competing with the UK. We should make it open and easy to import and then properly compete and put the pressure on. We already buy all our bloody cars, and every car in the country is an import. At some point or another, every car has been imported. I mean, we don't build them here. It's nearly impossible to find out what the older cars' NOx emissions are. What do you call that crowd that does the import that you pay the tax to? Whatever they're called, they had a website you could work out how much the car would be to import it in the country, and they haven't updated to put in the NOx for the new cars, but they will eventually. Clover video. Why, Bob? What do you think about ownership of Italian cars? Nothing wrong with Italian cars. Italian cars are grand. I'm going to have to find out who that person is behind the Clover video. Ownership of Italian cars. Alfa Romeo, does it depend on the model you buy? How's your opinion? No, not really. Italian cars are just as reliable as any other cars. The ones that fall into the bottom of the JD Power surveys and things, they're the ones you got to worry about, like Jaguar, Land Rover. Like, they're really low. A Vauxhall are quite low as well. You know, these kind of ones we hold up and go, oh, well, wow, there's such fantastic brands, and Alfa Romeo are broken down the whole time. They're not, you know. Like, if you look at the satisfaction surveys and stuff, they often give you a better idea what a car is like over its life. All cars, if they're treated bad at 100,000 kilometres, will burn oil and they start to give trouble. Of course they will, because you've done nothing for the last 100,000 kilometres. So, you know, you got to think about that sort of stuff. But Edward Dunn, just logging in. Do you agree that NCT is another tax and that motorists have been screwed? I've been saying it all along. NCT is another tax on cars. NCT is a tax on cars. That's all it is. It's a tax. You have to pay it, and then when you fail it, you have to pay it again. You don't just pay it once, you pay it twice. It's crazy. It's a crazy tax on cars, and all we're doing is supporting Appliance Plus jobs. That's it. At the behest of the RSA, which is a wango and funded by the government. It's a roundabout way of saying that I don't agree with the way the NCT is charged and paid for and done, and it doesn't really work out. There's so many other ways we could do it, so many other ways that would be smarter and cleverer and would actually benefit the consumer, but instead of that, we're all into making money for big businesses, and we hand it away. We sold Aer Lingus, we sold the National Lottery, we sold all these things that made money for the consumers, and now we make nothing from them, and that's how Ireland seems to run when we do something stupid. Carrot Plays has dropped in. Hi Bob, says Carrot Plays. Hi Carrot. I hope you're playing lots of video games. Ocean Froggy, Bob, welcome back. Thanks, you're late. There's 3:16. I'm answering things from three quarters of an hour ago. Sorry. Hi Bob, welcome back. I've been watching the ID3 disaster movie. Hard to believe they still discovered a 78 kilowatt version cannot have 5 seats due to weight limits. No. It's amazing when you look at a company of its size, Volkswagen, and they go, well, you know what, it's only got 4 seats because it's so heavy we can't make it 5 seats anymore. And then you go, it's a car that's been in development, it seems, forever. And a lot of it was to distract us from Dieselgate. A lot of it was to go, well, we're going to clean up everything. And like the announcement they had, I was at the launch of the ID3 at the Frankfurt Motor Show, and he came out and he had a child there with him going, what do you think the future is? And the child would go, the future, I want to be clean and nice and environment. And you're going, this is the same company that had Dieselgate? Why are you doing this? It was a PR exercise. And then they ran into all the problems with ID3, the software issues, then it couldn't charge, then it was charging, then it had it, and then it couldn't have it. Now we can't have the ID3 Max in Ireland because they want to register it before November, and Ireland obviously never registers the cars in November. Like, who's going to do that? So all kinds of problems. And now it's might have CarPlay, might not have CarPlay. The car is going to be too heavy for certain licenses. Like, if you look at your license, old-fashioned pink license would have said this, your license is between weights, so the weight of the car actually affects the license. The heavier the car, you need different licenses. You go into different categories. And if you make electric cars heavy enough, you're in a different license. Like, it's crazy stuff. Jeff Carter says, loving the Sunday service for your rants. No mention of bunker oil yet, and we haven't got the bunker oil. Come back to the bunker oil another time. Yes, everyone likes the little rants. See, it's a two-way conversation. But essentially, you trigger something and away I go. And I like it. It's good. Joe Lyons answering that way. You're answering each other's questions. All fine, showing 256 viewers. That's right. Still showing now. It's showing 244, 239. So 4 people left. 5 people left. How dare you? Cross13 says you do get the basic autopilot for free. The $7,500 only gives you overtaking and autopark. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't buy that $7,500 joke. I think it's insane. It's a lot of money. That's probably what it costs, but I just wouldn't bother with it. They've given EU owners no reason to buy it due to UNIC limits on the system. Oh, that's the autopilot. Yeah, sorry. Okay. TS, hi Bob. Have you seen the Citroen Ami? It looks interesting, clever little vehicle. Yeah, they all look clever because marketing people make them look clever. But really, it's living with a car is what you got to really worry about. Everything you're being marketed to all of the time. Even like I could literally name several journalists, even working in this country, who take press releases and rewrite them without question and give you the marketing speak in a different language. And I know it goes on, and I know it's very difficult for journalists to actually, question what's in front of you, because when you question it, you come under scrutiny as to why you're questioning it. That's why I don't really get press releases and read the news out for anyone, or go through stuff like that, because I'd have to question it, because I sit here going, what does that mean? So a lot of this stuff that you see coming out from Citroen, or they look very clever because marketing people have made them look very clever. But when you actually sit in the car and drive the thing, you drive around and go, why hasn't it got a handbrake? Or why do you not have a wheel on the seat so it reclines properly? Why is it, there's always something stupid that they overlook. But yes, I'm happy when there's choice in the market. Plenty of choice. That's what you want. You want 50 electric cars in the market to choose from, not 5 or 7. What's it at now? Probably 10 now, it's at this stage. You want loads of them. You want every car company to offer at least 3 or 4 different electric cars, and then you can make your choice up. And you don't need that cancel idea that you see in the, like, certain members of groups and things all getting together going, oh, that looks rubbish. Electric cars, the self-charging hybrid is just crap. It's all lies. This is all nonsense. This is all bluster. All mouth, no trousers. Annie McPhee says insurance sales folk on phone have sales targets. End of last week of the month, they are trying to get their targets, and can be the best time for to quickly go to the lowest price. You can do that, yeah. Sometimes. Often it's just worth a phone call. It's just worth setting aside one day when your insurance renewal comes in the post. The little letter you get saying, thank you very much for insuring with us for the last 12 months, Mr. Flavin. Now we're going to absolutely screw you to the wall for the next 12 months. That one that comes in. So take that, open it, look at the price. Look at the price from last year. If they don't have it on it, ring them and go, what did I pay last year? Find out how much it is, and once you find out those 2 figures, they're the ones to beat. That's it. That's your target. Get the same or better than those 2 targets they've asked you. And generally speaking, ring up their next nearest competitor, ask them for a quote, get a reference number off them. So you always get the reference number. So they'll give you a number, a case number, a reference number. They all have a different name for it, but essentially it's a quote number. It's the number that they give you to quote out. So if that's the cheapest quote, you can ring them back and go, here's the number, and they bring up the quote again and go, I'm going to take that quote. That's it. Deadly. Unless it's written off, then Tesla tend to want to just not rot and not be repaired or parted out and recycled into other cars. Very narrow-minded for the eco credentials in that way. Tesla. Well, there's not a lot of Teslas on the road. I wouldn't worry too much about that just yet. What do you think of the new cross-climate tyres? Are they worth it, or are they better to have separate winter tyres? Darren. In Ireland, we have relatively stable weather. So we get some extremes, right? So we get frost, and some years we get very heavy snow, but it's once in a while. It's not every year. Usually we get -1, -2 for a couple of months over the year. And if you live near the coast, you don't even get that. You'd be lucky to get 2 or 1, right? So the idea of winter tires comes about from northern European countries like Poland, or if you go further north again into Finland or Denmark or Sweden or anywhere up that way, you find that they actually have a law. There is a date in their calendar every year, and they keep their winter tires in the garage at home, and on that date it is the law to change the tires over to winter tires. If you get caught driving on summer tires in winter, you get charged with dangerous driving or something like that. We don't have that law here. So the idea that you buy mixed use tires. So I wouldn't buy summer tires for Ireland, but I would buy a mixed use tire. So you get a decent tire. I've driven on summer tires for most of my life. When I was a young lad driving cars, you go to WeFit in Newbridge, rock in and go, what's the cheapest tire you can put in this car? And they go with them ones. You go, right, I'll take them. I don't care. I want the cheapest tire on my car. Was the way it was years ago. Now, of course, being a bit more mature and having kids in the car and family in the car, you kind of go, hang on, what gives me the best grip? What will last the longest, give me the best grip? And I found, over all the tyres I bought, Continental tend to have the tyres that last the longest on my car. Not necessarily your car, but Continental tyres on my car seem to work the best. And I even have mixed tyres out there right now. There could be anything on my car. Whatever's there, because we don't drive much. We only drive, that car goes up to town and back. 4D modding from Kildare, but live in Connecticut. Got my car inspection done on Friday. It's $37, and they fix any problems there and then. Got 2 struts, 2 tires, service inspection done on the spot. Yeah, someday we'll have a time in Ireland where the consumer's not being ripped off to the last. Right here. Stuart McHugh, thanks for all the reviews, Bob. No problem at all. Bought a brand new 1.5 petrol Kodiak. Good car, that. Traded in 2014. My brother actually bought a Kodiak as well, I think. No, he bought a Karoq. Can't remember. He bought a Skoda because he texted me after he bought the car. He went off and bought a Ford Mondeo, a 1 litre one, and texted me and said, I bought a Ford Mondeo. And he said, it's a petrol diesel. And he says, petrol. Now, you're going to cut out every single time you want to get out of a junction or you want to accelerate and overtake anything. It's going to cut out. And he goes, no, I'll try to find it. About a week later, he goes, this thing cuts out the whole time. What am I doing wrong? I said, because the engine's too small for size of the engine, so you have to ride the clutch to make the thing go. So he said, what car should I buy next? And I said, I think I said a Skoda Karoq, which is the other York. And he texted me after and said, oh, brilliant, 1.5 litre diesel, don't even think about it. Or 1.5 litre petrol, don't even think about it anymore. Great car, works very well. So you're not alone, Stuart McHugh. Now, that was a long story of saying, anyway, traded in 2014, 2.2 litre diesel Mazda 6 estate, Skoda Thud, up there with the Golf these days. 7 seats, very handy for young. It is a great car. A lovely car. We had the RS model of it here as well. A beautiful thing. God, it was so nice to drive. Great noise of it for a stupid. No one's going to buy one, but it was a lovely car. Cross 13 says, one thing I did investigate was using an unmetered ESB supply, which is limited to 2 kilowatts, to feed a home battery in addition to a solar PV, fixed cost per month. We'll have to sit down and do the maths on this one, boys. I think we could do something here. We could save ourselves thousands. Imagine if all of my subscribers got together to buy enough solar panels for all our houses. Imagine the discount we get. 50,000 people ordering enough solar panels. It'd be mad, like. We could have a sort of Groupon version of creating an electric universe for our houses, where we all run our houses on batteries from cars. Anyway, McPhee says, my 2016 Audi A4 didn't even have a dipstick to check the oil. That's how much Audi don't want you under there. Audi's been doing that for years. Remember the Audi A1? Was it Audi A1 or A2 or something? The little aluminium car. You couldn't open the bonnet or get at anything. Nothing at all. I think you'd only put in screen wash was the only thing that allowed you to touch. Still going. Right, I'll stay. This is the first one back, so I'll stay, and we might be here next week. Let's see what happens then. But subscribe. Click the little bell icon. When you click the bell thing, you'll get a notification to say that I'm here. Click it to all, and then when I go live, you'll get a notification on your phone. You can join in straight away instead of being stuck in the background and coming in late and answering questions without a note or nothing. Like to say, I'm sorry, I joined like 2 hours late, but I have to ask me question anyway. Andy says the bypass method for a meter simply is a cable going past it, so it's not in the loop, but very obvious on visual inspection. Mains power indirect to fuse box. Yeah, you can do the wire thing as well. Don't want to give you all the wrong idea of what you're supposed to do with your meter. If they inspect it and there's a hole inside the box or a giant magnet stuck to the side of your meter, you could be in trouble. So don't do it, okay? But that's what I used to do in the 80s. Especially when I still remember that house I had that had the meter. You put 50 pence, I think it was, or a pound or something. You put it into the slot and it got you like 15 minutes. It was hugely expensive. Like I think it was 50 pence for 15 minutes or something, which was way over the price of actual electricity, which was costing. So I felt aggrieved, and I opened the little tiny lock that was at the bottom of it without damaging the lock at all, and just kept the drawer, and I put the 50 pence through like 50 times and then left it there. When the bill came in at the end of the month, it was like, I don't know, £100 for electricity, and it was 50 pence in the thing. Sure, your man threw me out. I had to leave. Funny, but that's the way, when you're a student and you're young and you've no money, you have to do something. McAfee, how long finished cod? Where's the cod? He talks about putting cod in the oven, then tells me about taking it out, and he didn't tell me it was nice or not. Just, that's it. He finished the cod, sitting here watching us. Maliki Chan. That's a strange name, but I like it. Hi, Bob. Greetings from England. Thank you. Greetings from Ireland. Rusty Bunt, who I always pronounce very well. Very well. I've practiced that one. Bob, remember the old telephone booths with the A and B buttons? I certainly do. And you can tap the number, but had to dial 019 free telephone calls. Correctamundo. That is true. Yes. It was always a cheat with something. Years ago, telephone boxes used to have an A and a B. So you put your money in, then you dial the number, and when they answered, you pressed A, and it would take the money. If they didn't answer, you pressed B, and it would come back out again. But you could actually cheat the system. You started dialing the number 091, and then you dial the rest, and you never had to press the A. It would just go through. Another little thing you could do, when I was very young, we got a phone into the house. My mother got it. It was the 80s. One of the first people, this is no joke, in the 80s, people used to come around to my house to look at the phone. Not to make a phone call, to look at the phone in the hall. This is true. This is life, lads. This is how far we've come since the 80s. I still remember the neighbours. It was like we bought a new house. The neighbours would come around, stand in the hall, looking at the telephone table and admiring the phone and asking questions. What's it like? Because they hadn't made a phone call. These were older generation people. These people were born in the 30s and 20s when phones were impossible to get. And so we got one. But what you could do from a public telephone back then was dial the operator, the old-fashioned operator. You pressed 0 and you listened and you waited, and the little operator would plug in the little thing and go, yes, who can I get you through to? And you'd go, I want to phone such and such. And you give them the phone number. And if you were nice to them, they would often connect you for nothing. Can you put in the money, please? I go, no money. Could you put me through? I'm trying to get called me mammy. I want to talk to me mammy. Oh, certainly. All right, son. Yeah. Click. You'd be connected. Cost you nothing. You call it some girl. Anyway, that was Rusty Bunt. Andy McPhee. P.S. COD was epic. Yeah, I see. He delivered. He delivered in the end. Sunday service somehow become fish and chips time. I've not had them since the last one. Where are we? Right, F Mull says, hi Bob, Fran from Portlaoise. Hi Fran from Portlaoise. Good to see you. Emergency Lime says they send checks because they know a percentage of recipients will never bother to bank them. That's true. Keith Colton is here. Gathering data about your life. Look up the quantified self. Oh, I'm guaranteed the entire world of... I must be on a million lists at this stage. You could definitely connect me to any crime in the world because I've done enough stuff on the internet. But then I made that choice. So when I started doing the YouTube videos and things, I made the decision back then to go, right, I'm just going... If this works, I'm just going to give it away. I'm just going to go with it and see what happens. I'm still very conscious of privacy settings on cars and on stuff. But... generally speaking, I've given up on that. But my kids are different. My kids stay off online. They are online, but they don't have channels, and they're not putting pictures of themselves up, and they don't have Facebook pages, and they're not on Instagram, they don't have TikToks. That stuff, we keep that out of it. Done. I want them to have a private teenager years, to go through the teenage years and to experience it in the way they want to, rather than being forced to experience it in a way that everybody can see. Emergency line. Oh yeah, sorry, I did that. John Paul Williams. Amo is asleep behind the handlebars. That's a reference to our Minister for the Environment, Eamon Ryan, who is welcome on this show anytime. Phone me, text me, email me. I have an open invitation to have you here on the Sunday service and answer my questions. I'll do it on Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Skype, any means you want. And I guarantee you won't be able to answer some of the questions that I put to you. But it's okay, because that's what you're employed to do. That's why you get 100 and something thousand euros a year, and I don't. Alan Kells says, what do you think of the Peugeot 2008 thinking of changing in the new year? Beautiful car. The most pretty of those kind of cars on the market today, bar none. But the little steering wheel does bother me. And the gearbox does an awful lot of changing. There's a lot of the automatic gearbox does change a lot for some strange reason, but it's a beautiful car and is so well put together and made. Good clunk out the door now. It's really nice. So yeah, I just literally had one the other week. It's a very, very pretty. Buy it in red if you can. It's really nice. Ocean Froggy says, Bob, what do you think of Peugeot E208? Mrs. Thing of changing one. It is the finest electric car in that range you can buy. I adored it. I would buy one myself. I think it's a gorgeous, gorgeous car to look at. It takes odd colours very well. Yellow and orange and kind of green stuff. The weirder the colour, the better the car looks. I got over the things I don't like about the car. The kind of touch screen interface for turning the temperature up and down. The little steering wheel isn't as bad, and the smaller chassis, the smaller narrower wheelbase suits the smaller steering wheel a bit better, and a smaller city car. Really good. Excellent car. John Paul Williams says, NCT car inspectors get a bonus for every car that goes back up and around for a retest. I don't know if that's true. Just reading someone else's out, I didn't know that if that's true. 3-ton Range Rover, no license problems here. Range Rover, no. Yeah, finally got power back on, missing most of the Sunday service. We'll have to catch up later. Sorry, Crotchford is coming and going due to power issues. Marty O says, hi Bob, welcome back. Lately I'll turn on the aircon. A weird musty smell comes up for a minute. Air and polar filter done. What can it be? It is a build-up of bacteria in the pipe work between the pollen filter and the vents. So somewhere between those two, water has condensed and is allowed to heat it up there and sit in there. It's a bacteria smell between the two. Goes away after a minute. Definitely worth. There's a gas you can get that you can pass through from the pollen filter in, comes out through your vents. Can't remember the name of it. There's another gas you can buy as well. If you go to Motor Factors, they have a gas for sure, Marty. I've seen it and I used to sell it years ago. You can put a bottle of gas inside the car, turn on the air conditioner, full blast, set the gas off, close the doors, and the car recycles that air through the air vents the whole time and gets rid of that musty air filter. But it's definitely condensed water between the vents that are actually in the cabin with you and going back to the pollen filter. So there's something in between those two that's after causing a condensing of the air, and it's causing a smell. A bit like if you left a cup of water, little dregs in the bottom of the water, and you left that on the sideboard for a couple of weeks. You come back and it's dry, but there's a funny smell outside of it. And so you add heat to it, it screws it up. Did I ever drive a Mark II MG6? No. Sorry. A weird last question, but we have come 2 hours and 21 minutes into this. There's still 225 of you watching right this very minute. Thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Tons of plans. This was only done because I got a million emails and text messages and all sorts of stuff to bring this back, so I'm back under duress. And it's not under duress, but hopefully I will bring this back on a regular thing, and we bring out a podcast and we bring out all these other things. So hit the subscribe button. If you can support the channel by sending money through PayPal or going to Patreon, what do we call that thing, or memberships here, any of those kind of things would be brilliant. Any sort of support is always welcome. You are more than welcome to enjoy this podcast as a stream back or whatever you call it here on YouTube. I will make this one a podcast, but possibly change that into the near future. Thank you very much for joining me again today, and until the next time, I will see you on the far side.